That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's bullshit.
All right, you motherfuckers. I got reasons for being a little late. I got reasons for being a little unprepared. I got reasons for being a little frustrated. And I got a lot of reasons for being pissed off, but none of which are going to get in the way of tonight's show because I didn't fucking cancel. And I got all kind of reasons to cancel. Okay. All right. So let me go back to what I was doing while I was trying to get this show prepared and talk to Tony and get you guys all straight and figure out what I was doing to get home tonight because I'm 21 miles from where I put my baby head at night next to my daughter, and my fucking car is dead in this parking spot at my building. So I have a Ford Flex, a 2013. I love it to death. I hate to see it go. I hope this isn't its death. I don't think it is. But it's got electrical nightmarish issues with it some kind of way. Just had the battery replaced, and now I think it's this battery power management thing or whatever. I don't know. I pull in the, like, I'm get halfway here, and the air conditioner is acting up funny, and I pull in the spot. I turn off the car. It turns off. I try to turn it on again. It fucking doesn't turn on. And now nothing. Like, the doors work from the key fob. I can unlock and lock my car all day long, but nothing else is controllable. So I've got a dead car outside, but I didn't cancel because I figured out my ride home right as Tony logged into the chat. So we did get a pre-show of a few minutes, not a lot of minutes, but a few minutes. It isn't super great. We talk about fish stuff. We talk about bio slime and such. You know, if you want to listen, you go to listen to the audio side, right? So before and after, you know, to get the very best of these people in the beginning and the end of the show to kind of stave off and hold for the audio only listeners. Okay. They're not at all, you know, paying for it, right? Like, it's not at all, paywalled, right? That's what they call it, paywalled. Like, we don't do I do Patreon, right? Like, look down there at the bottom over there, Ballsh Patreon page. And I really would appreciate you donating to this because I got these great sponsors that I'm about to go through. So while we let the room stack up with my lucky number 13 people that are showing on my screen, let's go look at the screen that I'm sharing over here. Let's see. It's going to share the reptiles to you screen. Reptiles to you. Some of my favorite people in the shipping space. They are my favorite people in the shipping space. Let's just be honest. They've come far and beyond and done better than anyone else could. So if you want to try them out, we're giving you guys a special deal for Ballsh listeners. If you go on Reptiles to You, you punch up your entire day's worth of shipping and you type in at checkout, capital BALL 0922 at checkout for 20% off of the already discounted pricing that you're receiving. So go check it out, check the pricing, and you will not be sorry with the service. You absolutely will fucking not be sorry with the service here. So go ahead and check them out. Give them your best. MorphMarket.com. We were just talking about this pre-show as well. As I do this twice a week, and it seems that every time in the last couple of weeks that we've come to this site together at this stage in the show, there's been a new feature, like this little weird icon thing down the side. There's been a new feature added to the HUD of MorphMarket. It's starting to feel a little bit more like Facebook now, bro. Like, you kind of starting to encroach on stuff. Like, I hope there's no ad bar come running down this side. And if there is, I hope all shit's one of them. It's part of my sponsor friendliness with MorphMarket, but probably not. That's probably going to cost a lot of money. So, all right, MorphMarket.com. Go check them out before they stop sponsoring me. C-SERPENTS. rack systems, incubators, accessories, shows, frequently asked questions. I'm just reading the website at this point. At this point, you guys know that if you're buying PVC, you're buying all the same plastic, but you're not buying the same construction. You're not buying the same tooling. You're not buying the same method of assembly, but you are buying a great product that when you buy from Chris at C-SERPENTS, and you're getting it pretty quick. So give him some business and tell him you heard about him on the Ballsh. Exotics by Nature, producer of the Ballsh. It's been lovely. Hopefully this week we move Hydra, the two-headed corn snake, to her exportation location. But she is now moved off of MorphMarket. But it doesn't stop me from having 238 other animal listings on this fucking site of all kinds of stuff. Corn snakes, Morelia, lychees, fucking fat tail geckos, all kinds of stuff. So go check me out. MorphMarket, Exotics by Nature. Give me some love. US Art, give them some love. Who would I see was on-ramping? That's a crypto word, on-ramping. Or, yeah, pretty much crypto word. Who did I see on-ramping US ARC members? They were giving great, stupid discounts on ball pythons for US ARC memberships. I saw you on Instagram. Shout out to you. Go you for getting more people to join US ARC. Bravo Zulu, thanks a lot for being a producing partner to the Ballsh podcast. Same with Jim LaValle from Ectothermic Jungle and Infinite Possible Pythons, who I think these three came along with, and this is in alphabetical order, B and Ectothermic E, and then I for Infinite, and then the guys that helped me start the show back up. So I'm sorry that the alphabetical order trumps the three newbies, trump the what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 old bees. But John Woodruff at MADRIVER, you're not loved any less, even though you are just showing guinea pigs now, which is probably a good market. Reptile Collective, Steve, love you to death. Been showing some more stuff. Dope, scaleless. Love it. White-sided scaleless rat snake available. That's interesting. Is that pure? That can't be pure, right? That's not pure stuff. Ooh, he's got Angolans breeding. That picture looks like it's from 1971. Like it's a fucking Tom Crutchfield throwback, bro. Whatever filter he's got on that thing makes him look old. Savages. See the Savages in the house tonight. And thank you. We can thank Becca Savage for when I was like, who can I ask? Because Anthony Caponetto is sick as fuck. He's got RSV and can't talk and all kind of shit. And he was supposed to come on a off-topic Tuesday. And we're super excited. And we were discussing it. And then he got sick. And so I was like, Becca, who could I ask? And she was like, what about Cop Tony? And that's where Cop Tony came from. Came from old Becca. So Becca was the one that threw up Cop Tony. Of course, I probably threw out Cop Tony first. Shane Kelly, Small Town Exotics. Hope to be seeing a sign from you soon that's painted up looking pretty, but you're starting to, post some more ball pythons and stuff. So keep it up, Shane. Great job. Strange, who was just on the Where Are They Now episode. So go check him out on Snakes and the Fat Man recently for the Where Are They Now rehash, I believe. It aired recently, right? Yeah, they got it. So, yeah, he'll be primed and ready to come on a sponsor spotlight, which, by the way, this Friday will sponsor spotlight will be Shane from Small Town Exotics. If for some reason I can't get here, I'll try to do it from home. And we're going to do the first sponsor spotlight as this Friday's ball python episode because he's pretty ball python. Like he's pretty hardcore ball python. And yeah. So on to the guest, on to the big man, or, well, let's bring him on and we'll welcome the folks in together. How you doing tonight, Mr. Tony?
I'm all right, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. You've been well. It's been years, literal years.
Long time, yeah.
Yeah, we talked pre-show where the last time that we saw each other and hung out in person was probably like 2016 Arlington or something like that.
You didn't
Unless I did come to Tinley, but Tinley's such a huge event.
Yeah, it's hard to catch up and do anything at Tinley just because.
Yeah, so many people. I mean, unless you're into the weed crowd, in which case you're probably not into the weed crowd. Given
I am, but for different reasons than you.
Right. Different reasons than me. Yeah, you investigate, we procreate. So it is what it is. So generally, yeah, you don't find yourself staggering into our mushroom cloud of happiness and antics during the Tinley
the whole building at Tinley is a mushroom cloud of weeds. So
that's probably true now. I don't think it was true 5 years ago, I don't think that was true. But
It's
I
gotten
think
pretty bad.
now,
with the legalization of it out here,
yeah, I think
everything
legalization's
smells.
gotten
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
sure,
pretty
for
normal
sure.
out here.
So let me go through these guests since you're here tonight, and we'll get a few of them since there's only 15. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't promo this episode beforehand. I was so preoccupied with the transportation situation, and my little girl's got an inner ear infection too, so she's been having a terrible day. So it's like, and everything's falling apart, right? So it is what it is. We'll figure it out. Quirky, first one in the house tonight. Hello, at least the first one in my chat roll. Steve Beamer, good to see you logging in. He hadn't seen you log in very much. Small Town Exotics, first, third, it's fine. We'll call you first. Third in the chat, number one in my heart, maybe, I don't know. Will, hope we get to see Rocco tonight. So I guess that's the big deal, right? I'm
telling you, at Tinley, everybody asks about the dog more than they do anything snake related. Never.
That's it. Well, who cares about the albino tiger Oscar that he rescued from somebody's death pit of a 75-gallon aquarium behind him? That's actually rocking life in whatever size tank that is. We'll talk about it in a minute. Lizard Morphs down under. Good to see. Yeah, he said you weren't first, Small Town. No, he's never first, but he always says that. So it's wishful thinking. Reptile Collective wasn't first either. Savage, super stoked about this one. Thank you a lot for suggesting it. Bosa, thanks a lot for sharing this on Instagram. You just reminded me real quick to share it on Facebook, which I just fucking did, and I don't think anybody really saw it. So if anybody else can go share this on Instagram, sponsors, do me a favor, go share this on Instagram real quick. Do us a solid. Don't just pay the bills. Do some fucking work, huh? Right? But Eric's More Factory, man, it's good to see you. Jillian, good to see you. 4S is good to see you. Dude, I mean, it's good to have people here. Sometimes we have like fucking 50 people here or 70 people here, but nice. I think it takes Ozzy to do that. I really think
I'm no Ozzy.
I don't know, bro. Ozzy doesn't have a fish
I've been
tank
in it a long time,
room.
but I'm no Ozzy.
Ozzy doesn't have a fish tank in his snake room. It's like you set it up to get to my heart, bro. Genomic, thanks for coming in. Will said, God, a flex is the top 5 worst for mechanics. And have someone wiggle the fuse panel under the hood when that happens. I will check it out, Will. And we will definitely wiggle the fuse panel under the hood to see if it makes a difference. But this weird thing, it just happened with the traction control. I don't know what's going on, but it's really fucking annoying. Tamethyst, thanks for coming by. Good to see you too. I'm gonna roll on through. Strange said, how did you think I did, bro? Honestly, I have not been listening. And we also discussed this pre-show. And I was like, hey, Tony, did you check out the new stuff? Because he's like, I got a drink, bro. I'm ready for this to get a little spicy. Right? And I was like, I don't know about you, but you haven't really watched any of the new shit. So honestly, dude, I just fucked off for a while. And that's it, Tony. Like that, sometimes maybe that's what it takes. Just fucked off for a while. I mean, listen, I think everybody who's done this their entire life is entitled to fuck off for a while, bro. You there? You're frozen.
Yeah, sorry, my internet connection was going.
No, you're fine. Yeah, you're a little breaky. You're breaking up a little bit. Well, yeah, well, hopefully it'll catch up. But yeah, anyway. So you got it's coming back. You'll be fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Giant fucking lag though. Huge lag. Yeah,
we got 3 kids in the house that all use their phones and YouTube and all that stuff. So I just sent my fiance to go and get everything canceled and turned off. So hopefully we'll get that.
It's all right. Well, we'll see. It sounds like you're probably caught up a little bit now because it'll catch up. It'll catch itself up. Mike's Monitors in the house. Hey, you guys. Yeah, you know Mike. Mike's a real loud Chicagan. You know, or at least somewhat around Chicago, not in Chicago, but around Chicago, right?
Where is Mike from around the Chicago area?
Mike, shoot it out. Where are you? He's not far. Like, you know, I mean, I know you guys and you and Jake Klotz and all you fucking spoiled rotten Chicago fucks that we're so thankful that Brian Potter brought the World of Reptile show right to your yard.
Yeah. You know, I remember going to Tinley back when it first started becoming a thing. I think the 3rd or 4th year. I was a teenager going into Brian's store, and he was like, hey, come on out to this reptile show or whatever. And I was like, yeah, sure. And it was a third of the size that it is now. And it's just
the building was a third of what the size it is now, though. Like,
yeah.
it's grown with the structure. So a lot of people don't quite gather that building has actually doubled in size since we first started doing it. And when we first started doing it, we were only in a third of the building.
Yeah,
that was there.
I remember the curtain dividers that they would send across.
Correct.
And
the very first year, I don't even believe the ballroom area was open underneath the overhang where the carpet was. That's a lie. No, it was open because that's where we were. Because I was set up with friends of mine that were a gecko company back then, and we were set up directly next to Jim's step plug on the very back wall, just where the ballroom starts, just where it goes under the overhang. You know,
a fraction of what we know is Tinley now. It's absurd.
Oh, for sure.
It really is.
For sure. You know, who I was talking about that show with just yesterday was Michael Jolliffe. I don't know if that name rings a bell. No. Jolliffe Xanthic ball pythons. If those of you that are familiar. Anyway, Mike said he's in Trevor, Wisconsin now, but he used to be near Tinley. That's right. So anyway, so the situation is, you know, where are you? You're in.
I am actually. I used to be in a suburb south of Chicago that was probably a 15-minute drive from Tinley. It was called Lansing. Several years ago, my ex and she got pregnant. I started looking for jobs over there. So my house right now is technically in Indiana by about this much. From my kitchen to the border of Illinois, I can throw a rock and I can literally hit Illinois. So I'm still only a 20-minute drive from Tinley. It's not far, but technically my residence is on the other side of the border in Indiana, which works out great because obviously Chicago is well known for its politicians, not in a good way.
Oh, right.
Taxes, you know, everything like that. So it actually works out really well.
I'm sure your lifestyle is a lot better than your counterparts across the Illinois line. So yeah, Mike said Grand and Austin, whatever that means.
Grand and Austin. I'm not sure where that is. You got the name of a city, Mike?
Yeah, I don't know. He might have been in the city.
Yeah, so I'm technically in Indiana now.
Yeah, okay. So what town in Indiana are you in?
It's a very small town called Dyer. If you've ever heard of like Hammond, Indiana.
D-Y-E-R?
Yes, D-Y-E-R.
Yeah, I've shipped there.
Gary, Indiana is often very popular because of its crime rate. It's a lot like Chicago. So all of those are about a 5-minute drive for me.
There was a ball python guy back in the day, Brian Colwitz.
His last name is Dyer. I know exactly who you're talking about.
But no, not Dyer, but Brian Colwitz. Brian Colwitz used to live there.
I remember Brian.
You remember Brian? Remember the smoky shades and do-rag Brian, right?
Yeah.
Trucker Brian. Right. Okay. So Brian used to live around there. And the fucked up thing is Brian's wife had the cell phones in her name, and the cell phones rang and it just said Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And so he called me one time and he was just like, bro, why don't you pick up the phone? And I was like, I don't know, bro. I might catch something. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, it's Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And he was like, what did you say to me? And I said, your phone, when it calls me, it says Gary, Indiana. You know, you got super fucking offended. I don't live in fucking Gary, Indiana. I'm not from fucking Gary, Indiana. I would never be caught dead in fucking Gary, Indiana. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. But wherever you wipe on your burners say Gary, Indiana. I'm just saying. You know,
I used to hang out and drink with Brian actually a little bit when I first turned 21. I don't know if you remember the name George Tagler at all.
Tagler.
He never got too big.
Is he a boa guy or a ball guy?
He wasn't really sure. He was on the fence trying to find his way, and he never did, and he got out altogether. But he was very good friends with Brian Colwitz. I think it was more based on his sister. His sister had a thing for Brian or vice versa, whatever it was. So we would all hang out at this guy George's house, which is not too far from here. And I got to hang out with Brian Colwitz quite a bit before he got out of the scene. Yeah,
Brian was pivotal on getting bananas and shit together and all that stuff. I mean, and that's what's really fucking crazy. I mean, he was the kind of go-between. Yep, we got Lady Tiss in the house. Hey, good to see you, Nicole. A bunch of great people in here tonight. My friend Nick from Florida says smile, Sean. I smile a lot.
I was going to say TBM from Maryville. That's
he was from Maryville. Lived in Maryville. Right, right. So, well, I've never lived up there by you motherfuckers, and I probably wouldn't. And if I
Nor
did,
should you. There's no reason to.
I don't know, man. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I would like to live somewhere other than here.
No.
And I would like to bring here somewhere other than here. I mean, I think it would be fun. I think it'd be
feel the
fun to
same
bring
way
my
about
area
here.
somewhere else.
I would love to live anywhere but here. Anywhere.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I live in a small suburb of New Orleans that's about an hour away. Not really convenient to get to the city at all. And I once asked a guy that I met. I mean, he owned a sporting goods store, and he had a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful kids that went to college and were great. And I mean, this guy was living the dream. And I was like, man, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? He's like, right fucking here, bro. And I was like, home's where the heart is, for sure.
Hey, good for him.
It was great to meet somebody that was like, dude, this is a boring ass town. Everything closes at 9. Nothing fun here. Nick lived here. TBM lived here for a while. He knows exactly what my area is like. It's a very boring place to be. And for that guy to say, if I could be anywhere, I wouldn't choose anywhere but here. But dude, he was the fucking
nobody says that.
Yeah, dude. No. He was prom king, star football player, star baseball player, married the prom queen. Oh no, we're talking like the small town that's an hour away from the den of debauchery, bro. We're talking about like, yeah, just close to like fucking the seediest, nastiest, most fucking crooked, where every 18-year-old girl is like, Dad, if you don't give me money for a car, I'm going to work on Bourbon Street. And that's it. And you're like, what the fuck am I going to do about it? You know what she said? Yeah, like that's how close we live to that fucking cesspool. And yet, I don't know. He lived here, and it was his favorite place ever. But it was where every dream came true, bro. He went to LSU. He played for LSU. He came back home. He opened a sporting goods store. He had a sporting goods store in every single walk-in shopping mall in Louisiana when we were kids, when we were younger.
Nice.
Yeah, it was called Legends Sporting Goods. If anybody was in the South in like New Orleans or Baton Rouge or anywhere in Louisiana, Mississippi that went to like a walk-in big mall, this dude had it. But it was his fucking life. But to look at a guy like that and say, man, I would never live anywhere else, and then be like where you are, and you're like, I would live anywhere else. I would literally live anywhere, like pretty much anywhere else. I mean, obviously there's some shit stations,
at least where
right?
you live, you
It'd
have
be like a fucking goat herder.
Nice weather. You know, here Chicago weather sucks, and like
right. Well, you have 4 seasons, right? Yeah, strange that I'm in
sometimes in the same
Indiana.
day, usually.
Oh, right. You have 4 seasons in the same day. You know, that's
You get a lot of wind. What people really underestimate is the lake effect snow. You know, there is such a thing where there's no snow in the forecast, but because of Lake Michigan right there,
right,
before you know it, you're under 6 inches of snow, and it wasn't even forecasted. And that's usually off to the east of, sometimes Indiana will catch it, Chicago will catch it a little bit, but Michigan, those people get destroyed.
Oh, yeah, they get hammered. I remember talking to Barchak a lot when I was younger.
Yeah,
and
they get it bad.
In the winter, he'd just be like, bro, I had to talk to somebody. I had to call somebody. I had to talk to somebody. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, really? It's like that? And I was like, I didn't realize it was like that.
Strange
creations.
Like completely shut you say you're from Indiana. Where in Indiana?
Yeah, where are you from Indiana? Yeah, I don't know where in Indiana he is. Strange. But yeah, so he did just do that resurgence of him on Fat Man. So you guys go check out my boy Josh Strange on Fat Man. He's gonna ask me how he did. I'm gonna go back and watch it now, Josh. I promise. Mike says lake effect snow sucks balls for sure. Terrible. It's definitely something to keep up with. The lake effect for sure. Well, we have the lake effect, but my lake is a hot lake, so I have a lake. Yeah. I have a lake I have to worry about under hurricanes.
You get hurricanes. That's about it.
Exactly. I get hurricane siege. But I mean, hey, look, if you're gonna have a natural disaster,
that would be the
not the bad one to have, right? It's way the fuck out there. You're talking to Ron Heisenberg at BBM Reptiles, and you're like, Ron, how's it looking? And he's like in Puerto Rico, like, bro, it's windy. Bro, it's so noisy. It's so noisy because of the generators going. And
did you like, get any of the hurricanes that came through this year? There's been a couple of them.
We did not. No. Florida got them this year. Right. Ultimately, that's what destroyed my fish dreams. I'm going to blame it on that as being like the ultimate culprit for me being out of the fish industry is the death and the loss in the fish game and how overly accepted and in saltwater, sometimes almost promoted by the dealer, by the way of their refund policies. Like I figured it out. They're making money off of dead shit. So like it pretty much sucks. Savage they got the hurricanes this year down in Florida. They're all in South Florida. TBM's in South Florida now. So yeah, that's where he is. So they all got the hurricanes. But Hurricane Ida last year, Tony, is what got me in the fish shop. I lost like for 30 grand worth of marine stuff, 25 grand worth of marine, and the insurance company didn't cover it because my landlord didn't file any claim on the building. Apparently, if there would have been a damage to my building, I would have gotten paid. But because there was no damage to the whole building, I was not paid.
You missed out. It wasn't.
So I'm like, okay, dude, next time there's a hurricane and I have a business like this, I am literally ripping the fucking front door off. Oh, bro, I'm fucking shit up. No, I'm just going to fuck shit up. I mean, the firemen were the ones that helped me with my generator. So I'll just get the fucking firemen to come fuck it up. I'll tell them I'm trapped inside with no key. They gotta come
a lot of people that have followed me may remember, and you probably know, this fish tank behind me, obviously it's freshwater now, which is why I have the stingrays. But it was started as a saltwater where I had really nice
definitely a reef tank footprint.
Yeah.
If not a shark tank footprint. So tell me what size tank that is while we're talking about.
So this is actually 300 gallons. It's six. Okay. If you look at it this way, it's 6 feet long, 40 inches wide by 2 feet high. So 300 gallons. I've also got about 90 gallons of filtration underneath. And initially I started it to be a saltwater tank where
it's a great ray tank.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it. I had really beautiful reef angels. I had if you've ever seen the Japanese dragon moray, I had one of those. He was about 3 feet and ate fucking everything, by the way.
See, there's like, let's just pause for a second. I'll tell you that Japanese dragon eel. You know how to catch that eel? They use a long hook that's baited and they stick it in a hole and they let the eel swallow the hook and they hook the fucking eel and they drag the eel out. I want to know why they're so hard to keep alive, because most of them come in with perforated esophagus that gets infected and dies after like 3 or 4 months. So if you know anybody that ever had trouble keeping them and they were like, dude, he did great. He ate great. He did wonderful. And like 3 or 4 months down the line, he just got skinny and stopped eating and just died. Honestly, he had a fucking infection from them catching it.
I had mine for about 5 years, and ultimately what ended up killing him along with everything else in the tank was we had a real bad storm here. Some tornadoes came through, and I ended up where I'm actually at. I'm very close to a hospital, so I'm on a good power grid.
They fucking live.
I never lose power for any length of time more than about 20 minutes at a time. It's amazing.
That's fabulous.
It's beautiful. This one storm that I had came through and I lost power for 6 days. And even my battery backups and everything gave out and everything just lost oxygen. I did the best I could. But so I lost
Well, everything. I had a problem with heat. We had generators running. We had water moving. We had oxygen going. But heat just was too much. We just couldn't deal with the heat.
Yeah.
And the coral died. And you know, it's a marine system. So once one level of life trips, whatever. Yep. But, you know, like that eel, for instance, that eel is a prime example of why I no longer like that side of the industry as much as I did growing up. Because I've learned more about it. And now that I owned a store and I saw losses, and like I had this guy come in and he was a car dealer and he's like, yeah, dude, big fucking burly guy. Oh, I want this dragon eel. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be like $1,500. I don't give a fuck. Right. I'll buy it. Right. And I was like, okay, $1,500 eel, you'll buy it. But let me tell you how they catch it. All right, I'll buy it. And I'm just like, dude, fuck, I'm trying to tell you right now not to order it. And he's like, well, why do you want to talk me out of buying it? This is what a lot of people are going to say is why I'm out of business, right? One of those reasons why is that you just won't sell the fish to the guy that wants the fish and just take the money and just don't worry about the fish, right? At this point, I'm like, fuck, man, this is a third world animal, just like a third world reptile. I'm sure Mike and working with lizards can appreciate me when I say this analogy, that when a third world country inhabitant catches an animal and sells it, Tony, what does that person do tomorrow? Do they go catch one more or do they go catch 5 more?
1,000 more.
Thank you.
Especially here in the U.S. because they know that we're willing to spend money and we're going to buy them because we're greedy. Let's be honest.
Right. So if we look at the saltwater hobby, unlike every one of those beautiful freshwater stingrays behind you, which was captive bred either in America or in Thailand, right? It's not captive bred. It's not captive bred. If those were saltwater stingrays, guys that are listening to this, none of those animals would be captive bred. Every one of those animals would have just been caught in the ocean and shoved in that fucking fish tank.
And and that's what I think a lot of people, even people that are in the aquarium hobby, don't understand is saltwater fish. When you go into pet stores and you see all these beautiful saltwater fish, those are all ocean wild fish. Caught. All of them.
Except for clownfish.
Yeah.
None of the clownfish are wild caught unless they're really fucking expensive. Like
Right.
when you came to my shop and you saw a regular pair of Percula, like Nemo looking clowns, and they were like $180, those were actually wild caught because they weren't all genetically run down. Because to be honest with you, my opinion of captive bred corn snakes, I mean, of captive bred clownfish is about that of captive bred bearded dragons. They are fucking weird. They're like funny nosed and they got short fins and they're derpy compared to a wild clown. When you see a wild clown now, dude, it's a completely different beast. Like it gets bigger, it breeds better, it has better color.
You see that's sitting in pet stores on the shelves or in the fish tanks, they're all wild caught. You know, they blow up the reef, knock them out, import them, and very few. I know now they're able to do the yellow tangs, but talk about captive bred yellow tangs, those are expensive.
Right, $200, but then remember the wild yellow tang has got banned off the list for a couple of years. So,
and that's exactly why, you know,
this summer I sold all my yellow tangs for about $300 a piece, and I had like 12 to 15 of them. So
yeah, you get a few of them out of the Red Sea, and you can't find them anywhere also. So that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, no, there was nobody bringing them in from the Red Sea. I mean, you could. The thing is, though, Guam could export them, so whatever. They could just start a fishery in Guam and export them from Guam, but they don't want to. So.
Sounds like a business idea.
He goes, no. You want to talk about like crazy legislation and stuff? I mean, you're getting in territory where you're trying to deal with ecology, profit, third world countries, freight problems. I mean, like, what? You want to bite off every challenge in the world? Fucking be my guest. You know, you're like, hey, it's kind of easy being a cop and breeding boas, you know, because we don't even have to incubate the babies. We just come in and fist them out of the goo and rinse them off and then get money for them because they sell so fucking fast. We only have 6 animals on our MorphMarket page.
If it was as easy as everybody thinks, I'd be doing a lot better. I'll tell you that. You know, I do believe there's a big portion of what I would even call beginner's luck. And what I've learned, and some of my very good friends that
from where you live to breed what you breed, yeah, you need beginner's luck, motherfucker.
Yeah,
you need to move to Florida or Louisiana or somewhere to be a boa breeder. Move where the boas are comfortable.
So some of my friends that are in the boa world that are even very big name breeders, we've all kind of talked about it and we've agreed. The more scientific you make breeding and the more you know, like when you start ultrasounding and you start temperature controlling and down to the very degree, it actually becomes harder. I had better success when I was much younger in the hobby, where it was just putting heat on them, leaving them alone, and letting them do their things. Now, these days, obviously I have the ultrasound, and I'm trying to use that to my strategic advantage. And you start
with boas, it's challenging.
Well, what you want to do ideally is you don't want to waste your male's energy. Is you want to, when your female develops the follicles and you think they're going to be receptive to breeding, that's when you want to introduce the male. The problem is I'm ultrasounding once a week or every other week. The female never goes by herself. She never develops those follicles. So what I've learned over the course of a couple of years that I've had this ultrasound is just put the fucking male in. Let the male start breeding, and they're going to do their own thing on their timeline. You can't make it scientific. You can't get it pinpoint exactly how we want it. At the end of the day, stick to the basics of what you know. The temperature.
Did anybody ever have one of those breeding layouts on our website like Mark Mandic has on the ball pythons on his ball python site? Didn't like Gus from Rio Bravo or somebody have a layout where it showed like the phases of a boa going through parturition, where she would they would breed and then they showed the male on the opposite end of the cage, like plastered against the side, and then they said it's time to take them apart, and then they showed like a pre-ovulatory swell maybe or something, right? Is this from
a couple of books that are out there?
I thought Gus or somebody had it on a website, but I don't know.
I don't know if anybody on a website.
I wish they did. Maybe you should do that. Be the boa of go to Mark Mandic's, go to ballpython.ca and look at what Mark did on that site like ever ago. And he's updated it since he's had an ultrasound and made it even sharper and better. And now he's got like all of these stages of a ball python to where a lot of these people don't even want to buy an ultrasound. They're like, no, I got Mark's page. It's all I need.
And that's my
point. You really don't need it. You don't need it. But when you want to be like a fucking sniper, you need it.
You know what? I'm going to disagree. There's a couple of books that boa people have written. Jeff Ronnie wrote one.
Vin
Russo wrote a very good book, and
John
they break
Barry.
down exactly, the cycle, the window of opportunity, and all that. And
Vin's book's probably the better
Oh,
of
by
them
far.
all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What is that? The complete boa
Actually, I
constrictor,
think I have
or
a copy of it. Right?
yeah, it's the complete boa constrictor. It's from Eco. Eco makes it. Eco produces it. Yeah,
This one,
the complete
highly
boa
recommend.
constrictor.
Highly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you go back to the bare basics of what we know about boa breeding and the temperature cycling, humidity, feeding or off feeding, just introducing the male, I have found that I have much, and I do mean much, I would say 5 times better success by just sticking to the basics and keeping it simple. When I've tried to use the ultrasound to my advantage and I've tried to wait for the female to be within a certain range, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and then all of a sudden it's March, it's April, and my female never cycled. You put the male in and she cycles within a week. It's like, well, hell, we could have done this 6 months ago.
Right.
So if you're waiting and you're trying to do your things to adjust your environment and your temperatures and your humidity and all that, they're not going to be receptive. Some will. I don't want to say that as a general rule. Some will, but the majority of my female boas, what ends up getting them to cycle and start building their follicles is quite simply a male. Put a male in. That's what gets them building, and they start building very fast.
Now, you don't think a male in just the room vicinity does it? You think it's got to be like actually spurring and stuff like that?
Now, what you see behind me, this is my entire room. I don't have another room. So on this side, these are actually C-SERPENTS baby racks. Which
look at that plug to the sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah. Chris, I love you, buddy.
Yeah, Chris is the bomb.
You will see a Vision. Those are 32 quarts, I believe. And then I'm trying to get my whole computer here.
All good. Big fucking fish.
I've got some breeding breeder. They're 70 level racks over there.
Right.
And that's where I keep my males. Now,
and I love the fish tank for added humidity in the room for the South American
honestly,
stuff.
it does not add as much as I thought it was going to.
No.
I really thought that.
Not with the canopy on it. If you had an open top tank if it was a reef tank and it had an open top, it would add an immense amount of humidity.
Honestly, because I've done that and I've been experimenting with that where I've kept both. So this, you can kind of see it. I made these lashes. They just flip open. So, and actually what you cannot see is the top is ventilated. I actually do have a vent on the top. And the bottom where the sump is underneath is all completely open. I never put any drawers. So there is a lot of ventilation coming through. And even being 400 gallons of water in this relatively small room, much to my surprise, it does not add a lot of humidity.
Now, what substrate are you using over there, buddy?
Aspen. I have year-round, I keep everything on aspen. And then when I start breeding, I transition them over to that thin craft paper. Just because I've had too many males go wrong with the aspen where it gets stuck on their hemipene
and lost a peen. Right. Okay. That's never fun to lose a male that way. All right. So Savages says, Tony, have you noticed some females start building at random times in a year or just after you introduce the male?
Yes, I have.
It'd be a yes.
That is one of the very few, and I will say very few, perks of having the ultrasound.
Having an ultrasound machine. Discovering when you girls are firing that you can't ever get to go. We did that fine with this Dumerals boa in here. I told Grace, I was like, please ultrasound this Dumerals boa every month for the entire fucking year and see when this female is going. And we might have gotten her bred. I don't know. It'd be great. Because this Dumerals boa is big, bro. She's like fucking 15 years old, probably. She's like this big around. Like, she's big. So, like, hopefully it'd be a nice litter of Dumerals. That'd probably pay off my fucking mortgage with Dumerals are.
Yeah, no kidding. They're hard to find now. So, to answer her question, yes, what I do, usually, obviously, we know the boa breeding season is usually the fall and winter months. Most people start September. I go as far as February or March, give or take. But I still ultrasound, I would say once a month or so during the off-season months, June, July, August. And it's rare. I would say 1 out of 6 or 7 will actually start building follicles in the off-season. So I had one that one day out of random, I ultrasounded her and I saw 30 millimeter follicles in July. And I was like, oh, shit.
Way early. Right.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
So 4 months early. He bred her for 2.5 weeks. She ovulated, and I had babies the first week of January.
Mr. Ultrasound and Boa guy, can you give me a limit on what you've seen has been the absolute limit and the no point of no return? Because 30 seems awful fucking risky to me. 45?
40
40?
millimeters,
Okay, I was gonna say 40,
once they hit
45.
40, they are either going to they're going to ovulate once
They're
they
gonna
hit 40.
ovulate,
Now,
right? So
whether
but if they hit 35 and they haven't been bred yet, you're probably gonna
doesn't
lose
matter.
them.
Doesn't matter. I've seen up to 37, 38, and what ends up happening is you're just when they get to 37 millimeters, you're waiting on the ovulation any day, because I've seen them ovulate as early as 35, 36. So when they hit 37, they could ovulate.
That's not that different in size than a ball python ovum, folks.
Right, I would imagine.
It's really not. It's really not. It's not that much different. It's very, very similar in size.
Well, what ends up happening, what I've seen is if they hit 40, they are going to ovulate. They're going to have the big football ovulation that we all know where it looks like they swallowed a basketball. If they hit 35, they could, but they don't necessarily have to until they hit 40. Then it's a go. So I've had
tell the folks about dual ovulation, right? Where one fires and then the other one fires, so she doesn't really swell all that much.
Exactly, and that's kind of
what
what
live bears. You thought you had
now.
a bad time with women.
So what I've actually made this mistake a few times myself, where I will see females get to about that 35, 38 range, and they look real swollen. The right side's popping out. Then a couple of days later, the left side's popping out. And I'm just assuming that, okay, that was the two ovaries are going at separate times.
Right.
And I start waiting 2 months, 3 months, and the ultrasound, I don't see any babies. 4 months goes by, and she never gives me any slugs. She never gives me anything. I'm like, okay, now I know she reabsorbed. So she never actually did ovulate. And I would have swore, based off of what I saw, I would have sworn she did, but she didn't.
Right.
So
yeah, that's just the pre-ovulation swell, just because the follicles are so fucking large in there. And just like a ball python. I mean, you can have a ball python go into a glow, then go into a swell, then still absorb based on non-breeding. Right. But what I was saying was, like, where my point of no return was, dude, the biggest I ever saw go backwards on a ball was a 34 millimeter follicle went backwards. Okay. And that to me was like, whoa, dude, that was fucking shocking to watch. That.
Yeah, I had a couple.
You know what's crazy is that was just one female lavender albino. It was one of the first ones ever in the world. And she did that twice. And then the following year, died. Never made an egg.
Oh, wow.
Never made an egg. But she went all the way to 34 and then back. And then all the way up to about it again. And then back. And then the next year, died.
You know, I've got one female right now that I'm actually getting ready to put a male in maybe next week or so that did that, where looking at her chart, she actually made it up to 38 millimeters this year. And she was the example that I was just talking about, where by looking at her, I thought she ovulated separately with the two ovaries.
Right.
And she just
super confusing, bro.
Yeah.
Super confusing to a greenhorn, as Becca would call herself.
Usually on the ultrasound, I can see live heartbeats about 35 days after ovulation. And I checked her at about 35 days and I couldn't see anything, but no big deal. You know, maybe it needs another week. I go to 40 and I still don't see anything. I go to 50 days and I still don't see anything. So now I've got her chalked up. She's having slugs, you know, that she didn't take for whatever reason. And her due date came and went and she never even gave me slugs. And now I put the ultrasound on her and the big follicles are still there, but you can see the little tiny ones in the corner and they slowly start getting bigger until this big one is no longer present at all. So now I know in hindsight she reabsorbed, but the whole time I thought she might have been gravid with slugs.
Yeah, boas can be really, really, really funny. And I mean, again, like a lot of people would always say, well, that's why you and Celia do so good with the boas, you know, because you're in the South. And I'm like, no, because we have a fucking 100 boas. I mean, that's it. I mean, like, that's it, really. Like, trust me, I'm buying the rats for him every week. I know how much
now, let me ask you this, because depending on who you talk to, you get a different answer. What would you consider your percentage of success rate on pairings to litters back in your day when you were doing a lot of boas?
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, we didn't have that. Like, we didn't have that many. We had probably females. I mean, you have 6 tubs in a rack, right? In one of those sliders, because I had 3 sliders, so 12 grown ones. And then I had a couple of stacks of 4-foot cages that I made. So probably 25 to 30 female adult boas, like full grown breeder size boas. And probably getting 5 to 6 litters a year of really sound production from.
So out of how many pairings or how many females you bred were you successful with?
God damn, dude, that's a really hard question to ask me back then. I'm just trying to think of the numbers alone. I wouldn't say we were very successful. I would say maybe 40%, maybe.
Okay.
And that's like a stretch. That's probably a stretch.
I would say somewhere between 40 to 70%. You know, there's a couple of breeders out there that really pat themselves on the back for doing 100% every year, 10 out of 10. I don't believe it for a minute. You know,
I think you can do 10 out of 10 if you actually honed in the 10 that you do. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think you can do it 2 years in a row.
No. I definitely don't think you can do it. No, there's no way. No, they're fucking lying to you because you're 3 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain breeders that claim to do 100% every single year. So
that would be insane to me. I don't see that. I don't think that that's possible because I don't even think a female boa will necessarily do it on average that often year
I'm not even talking about the same female. I'm not talking about the same female 2 years in a row.
Oh, okay. You're talking about just percentages of bred to done.
Even that, I don't believe. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I would think so. I mean, like that's just, you know, boas are really strange, bro. I mean, that's why, like, okay, like I don't understand how the market comes down as fast as it comes down on something that is so difficult compared to something like a ball, other than the fact that you just don't have as many people that want to get into it like a ball. But where are you at on the market of boa constrictors? Now, granted, I know you guys got some high-end shit now. I don't want to be shitting on boas because I know there's plenty of boas that are worth plenty of money.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, the value just didn't stay up. Like, it doesn't.
It depends. And I mean, you even in the ball python world,
maybe it depends on marketing. I really want your answer, so give it to me.
Your recessives and your double recessives, they're going to hold value a lot better than the codoms. But honestly, even some of the codoms, they're holding value really well because they started off so high. You look at the fires and the super fires. I mean, even normal fires, they're still about 1,000. Actually, my favorite one to talk about is the IMG, the all black. Yeah. IMGs have been around the game. I remember Pete Call selling IMGs at Tinley 12, 13 years ago. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's about when he started selling them, just barely. So yeah, I mean, he was.
And I honestly could not tell you, and anyone, please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're going to get a single gene IMG with nothing else, it's not het for anything. I think a single gene IMG, you're still almost at 1,000, almost, give or take. So that one,
it's still money. Still money. There's no doubt.
It's held its value really well, and now people are crossing it. I see.
Right, but you can't tell me that the IMG boa was as distributed as the piebald ball python.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I want to see the price come down to like I want to see a solid black boa that, granted, like it's got to grow, right? Like
well, and you know what I think a big part of the problem is, like we were just talking
about, hatched solid black or was born solid black, it probably would have even stayed up higher and
well, you know what I think a big part of the problem is when you look at the piebald ball pythons. Again, we're comparing apples to oranges. Is ball pythons, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've never bred a ball python, so I'm not going to pretend to, but I know you do. They're relatively easy to reproduce compared to boats.
I would say, well, yeah, absolutely.
And that's where I think
success rate wise, yes, absolutely. And when I see ball python guys haul ass into your space, I feel so good for you guys.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, look at all that money going into boas now.
They have expectations that are going to land about here, give or take.
Yeah, it's like people, if you on-ramped any money onto your Coinbase account in the last month, thank you. I profited off of it this past week.
I think that's maybe a big part of the reason the IMGs have done so well in the boa world, because if it was a ball python, you would have 100 different breeders producing 1,000 of them by next year.
And I just said the other night, he wouldn't even sell me one of those fucking things.
Yeah.
He wouldn't sell me one.
You know, in the boa world, you might get 4 or 5 people that make them this year. And we're talking, boas have bigger litters, maybe 15 babies, 20, maybe 30 if you're lucky. But that's still a lot less to deal with than 100 ball python breeders making 5 of them each. So I think the supply and demand comes into a little bit of play there also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How's MorphMarket been in the boa world and stuff like that? You know,
it was slow to kick off. It definitely kicked off with the ball pythons.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was a ball python site for a minute.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. It definitely has kicked off now, where it's the biggest social site anywhere
Yeah.
that I know as far as boas. I mean, that's
Biggest
kind
place to
remember
list.
King Snake back in the day. I used to check kingsnake.com multiple times a day, and it was the classified ads and all that. This is King Snake.
Oh, you're talking about the actual social world on MorphMarket for boa people, forums and stuff.
Well, I mean, not even the forums, is the actual classified ads where people are going
sure.
to sell.
Oh yeah, they're much better. I mean, for guys like
1,000%.
me and you to go all the way back to King Snake, where it was the only game.
Yeah.
You know, aside from aside from Fauna Classifieds, but
Yep.
you know, not all that indifferent.
MorphMarket, the nice thing about it, you know, when you used to go to the classifieds in King Snake, is it was all in one, and you'd have to go from everything from normal boas to albinos and VPIs and Argentines and Surinams. They were all classified in one. And now with MorphMarket, you can actually pick, I specifically want Cull Strain, or I specifically want Motleys, or whatever. And I don't think King Snake could even dream of being what MorphMarket is right now. I really don't. Because
no, it's definitely where it's at, and especially with the database driven,
and the amount of traffic
idea.
now. Because of course now we have a much different era where we have the internet. You have a lot different style of advertising. So a lot of people know about MorphMarket now that did not necessarily know about King Snake, just because social media, the everlasting advertising platform.
Absolutely. Look, this right here, man. I mean, I actually spend more money on this YouTube show that YouTube hosts for free, and I have to pay out of this nest egg of this podcast. I have to pay for the audio people to listen to this. So please do me a favor, guys. If you're listening to this right now, go like and subscribe to these episodes and hit the notification bell. Subscribe. If you're not subscribed right now and you're watching as one of the few people that's watching us tonight, I will tell you right now, you are fucking me. You are doing everything you can to watch this and fuck me. I'm doing this for you for free. I'm not asking for you to do anything, but hit the subscribe button and dude, bring you guys like Tony Antonucci. So thank you again, Tony, for coming and doing.
But am I still going to get my paycheck out of this that we talked?
Oh yeah, your kickback is looking nice, bro. Looks like I'll have that Diet Coke nice and cold for you by the time we're ready to spike up your well, you're at the bottom of your glass. Fuck, you need a pull.
Yeah, I need to send a text message upstairs.
If you need to run up, you can go run up. It's no problem. I can excuse it for a minute, but yeah. So Genomic on the screen saying this is a very interesting pod, being into both ball pythons and boas. You're both speaking my language. I would say that they went right quite along together. Okay. I had ballpythonmorphs.com, cornsnakemorphs.com, and at the same time, boa constrictormorphs.com, which is now a new person's business because I let the website go and I didn't refresh it, didn't renew it, and ultimately someone picked up on it. So all the little bit of search engine traffic I was doing on boaconstrictormorphs.com benefited whoever that is.
That would even be, to be honest with you.
Boaconstrictormorphs.com in flow. We can even pull it up. I thought it was interesting when I was looking through my domain name list. I was like, where's my boa constrictor domain name? And it didn't. Boaconstrictormorphs.com did not get renewed with the bulk of the others, and it got sniped. Bye.
Genomic wants to know what's in my glass. I'm a rum drinker, so this
You're a rum. Yes.
It was
a
whiskey shot in rum mixed with Sprite. Rum and Sprite, highly recommend it.
I'm a rum person myself.
You have to try the Jamaican rum.
High-end boa morphs, super fire boas. I don't even know who the fuck this is. But here,
I have no idea who runs that site now. I really don't.
Yeah, I have no idea. Look, sales at boaconstrictormorphs.com 608. I really don't know who it is, but I want to say it's on MorphMarket.
That almost looks like a Jeremy Stone video, actually. Looking at the top one right there.
Yeah, at the actual video of the.
It kind of looks like a Jeremy Stone thing, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeremy and I go way back, so Jeremy might have done that. Like an ultimate, I'm going to tell Sean, fuck you, whatever. You know, his little voice. I can't do
I can't think of anyone else.
Wayne Bell's voice, but I can't do his voice. Let's see. Hold on. Here we are on your MorphMarket page, morphmarket.com/store/constrictors. Shit, man. The Chicago Skyline's classic. Come on. You know how many of you guys use that logo? Probably like 100? No, I'm kidding. There's like 100 of you fuckers there.
Yeah, that's my new logo. I need to get that one on there. I like it better.
Just the script?
Yeah, the little cursive.
See now the cursive script. You know, I can make you like an evil sign for the room there.
I just
A
like it a
laser
little.
cut
I
you
think
a
I
sign.
think I grew out of the old one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, probably. It's very Bruce Dallas. It's very yeah, it's very I'm tattooed and I have a bike and I have constrictors in Chicago. Yeah. Right? It's very Bruce Dallas. Even though he's not Chicago, he's Twin Cities, but you know, it's very Bruce Dallas. It's very handlebar mustache, you know, Harley guy type style thing. So what I was gonna do is I was gonna go here to
It's
sell
also original.
Okay, I'll look over here at constrictormorphs.com. Oh, Constrictor Morphs. Robert Baker. Whoever Robert
He's
Baker
a Wisconsin guy.
Wisconsin.
Robert Baker, actually, if it's the guy that I think he was, he's responsible for the first ever what is now known as the Call Moonglow. It was the Call.
Okay. Yeah. The Call triple hypoalbino.
Yes, which would have been Daytona 2006 or 2007, give or take.
Right. It was actually 2 years after. This is a sad fucking oops. There's 2 years after this, Tony. It was 2 years after Celia and I scooped all of the first VP Call Moonglows out of a preemie litter and threw them in a fucking trash can. It took somebody 2 years to come after us on that, and then we did the same exact thing a year before the moon glows for sharps, because Celia had gotten all the sharp moon glow stuff too. And God, motherfucking dude, we couldn't hit a Moonglow. I was like, fuck me and Moonglow. If any chick ever comes into my life that likes to call herself Moonglow, I'm just going to off myself right there. I'm just like, bang. What the fuck happened? This would happen.
That's been my experience with trying to hit the Moonglow Motley. And that's over 2 different strains of albino. I was trying to do Moonglow Motleys.
Yeah, one different strain of Motley, though. That's the problem.
Well, no, I had Motleys when I first started doing the BOAs 2007-8 maybe. I was trying to make Moonglow Motleys in the Call strain, and then I sold out of everything to go into the VPI in 2011, and I've tried twice on those, and I cannot make them in VPI either. The odds never work in my favor. I always miss that
I think we hit like fucking 4 or 5 of them, and they were all fucking dead. They were all dead. So that goes to the next part. When you have a successful production, I don't call preemie successful necessarily, but it is a good baby. It was a dick and vag situation, right? It was a fertilization situation, right? I mean, that did happen. But man, that's the other thing that these ball python guys, fuck them, the retic guys and the Burmese guys and the fucking egg-laying Kenyan sandboa guys and all these other people that are like, what the fuck, man? Why aren't I doing boas? This is so much, it's just so whatever.
But the other thing is people don't exactly advertise when things go wrong. We don't advertise when you have slugs. If you have,
we did most of the time, like except those times we were really upset.
Even this year I had 2 Partho litters. And Partho litters they're useless and they're usually dead the first night if they're alive at all. So actually this year, when you look at it like that, I had no good litters because the 2 litters that I did have that were live babies were half slugs, half Parthos. I'm like, I'm not showing that off because there's nothing viable going to come of this. There's no celebration here. And sure enough, they all died the first night. And I mean, I moved on, and that's just a part of boas, which actually is another study that I would like to see somebody, and I don't know who, but Parthos seem to be a relatively reoccurring thing in boas where a lot of people experience it. Why? Sure. There's got to be a science to that. There's something.
Well, first of all, are the people experiencing Partho purely, or are they experiencing like stored sperm and just being stupid? I don't really know.
Yeah,
or like just irresponsible breeding. We did have it happen. We had it happen once where we had an entire litter of hypo and normal boas that were all born female. None of them were jungled, none of them were motley, and the only 2 males that were ever in the cage were jungled and motley. And the mom was a hypo, right? So they were all females. There was 18 females in the litter. They all lived, but they all lived, but they didn't get size. They were weird. They got to like 3 feet and stopped growing. And then I was just like, oh, these are pets. These are pets. And I sold them as pets. But they looked fucking awesome. They looked so awesome.
Yeah. Well, and
they looked so awesome. They were like the freak ball pythons that everybody thinks is a new gene now.
Well, and that's
You know.
what's cool about the Parthos. I mean, I don't want to say cool because it is kind of a messed up thing, but if you
Well.
have a jungle female, for example, and she gives you a Partho litter, you're going to get super jungle. So yeah, of course they're going to come out crazy looking with all the crazy stripes and all
Right.
that. Because they get a double dose of the gene.
No, but this was a female salmon boa that produced 18 normal and hypo female boas, and they were insanely cool looking boas. They had like almost square, they almost looked like square tails, kind of,
Yep.
with the connected ovals and stuff in the back and all. They looked a lot like square tails.
You know, I have probably done, on average, I would say I get a Partho litter about once every 2 years, which, considering that I only do 4 or 5 pairings a year, that's a lot, you know, so 1 out of 10, we'll call it. And I've noticed, I haven't necessarily noticed a pattern in what I can identify as what causes it, but it's happened to me probably more than anybody. So there's got to be some type of science to it. I would love to.
Or maybe your animals are just in really good shape and you're not breeding them as often as you technically should be, given the pheromones and the situations in your space.
Going back to what we talked about earlier with the scientific aspect, you know, if you're trying to breed them scientifically in ultrasound based on the time, I think you're already doing them a disservice. Do the way that we know, the way that, you know, some of these books that people much wiser than I have written many years ago. Just stick to the basics. That's where I've had the best luck. And I don't want to keep referring to the term beginner's luck, but it is beginner's luck because the less you know, and when I say the less, it's actually the more, because you're studying the books, the things that temperature, humidity, time of year, daylight cycles, barometric pressure, all that is actually a lot. But when you try to take it too far, I think that's the key. What I've done, at least I know I have in the past, admittedly, is I've taken it too far and it's actually backfired and I'm having a lot less success than just sticking to the simple basics.
Well, look, celebrity herself, Jessica Hare, pops in with some serious knowledge. Partheno tendency is hereditary, probably recessive. So don't breed the animals that Partheno, as they are homo for the trade.
So that is actually a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
There's another breeder in the boa world that's a very big name breeder. I will leave nameless. But he has actually done the unpopular thing, and he says he gets Partho litters all the time, and he will actually raise up some of those Partho females and breed them, and he claims that they give completely normal litters, males, females, and they're just as good as anything else as long as you can get them to live. In my experience, when I've had Partho litters, they've always died on me very soon, within the first night, if not the second night.
If it's probably recessive, then it would be their babies that had the problem, no?
Exactly. So I know at least one person that claims that he breeds Partho females all the time.
I see why
he doesn't notice any difference. That's what he claims.
So we don't say his name. So yeah, so bullshit, stay out of that shit. Look at that. See, it's not even like old bullshit that I'm like, Tony, tell me, please tell me. I won't tell anybody. I promise. Maybe between you and me, I'll press mute on the world. I promise. No, it's not like that. Not like that at all. So whoever you are out there, stop. That's probably not a good idea.
Well, now here's the other thing when it comes to the Partho, and Holdback obviously knows a little bit. So
yeah, she's
and I will actually mention this name, Jeff Ronnie.
She's half of a solid podcast, but yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Ronnie from Boafile says that just because you get Parthos in a litter doesn't mean that the whole litter is Parthos. You can have both. Some of the babies could come out Partho. Some of them could be sexual. So maybe those sexual babies that even if it comes out a female, you'll never know unless you want to do the genetic testing. But you might get a sexual baby that's a female, but it came from a Partho litter, and you just assume it's Partho. Maybe that's what he's experienced. I don't know.
True. That's very interesting. Yeah, boas are still up in that. So did you only do morph boa stuff like BCIs and amalgamations of those, or you never did BCC stuff? You never stepped out to base and stuff.
I did one. So the very first litter of boas that I ever produced was actually in Argentine.
Okay.
I had an Argentine female, but I did a cross because I always liked the morphs. I liked the.
So to be totally honest with you, if I had to gauge boas in the way of easy breeding, it would go like Mexican boas down to South American boas, then it would jump down to Argentine boas, then it would jump up to Colombian boas, and then the rest. Like if I had to guess between what is a challenge to breed, occidentalis are awesome breeders and growers and solid snakes with strong genes.
Yes.
They weren't very smuggled. They were exported. They were farmed heavily in the wild, like in their native countries.
And what's crazy
Yeah,
about them is
so much different snake. Than
I started
a lot
out
of
my,
boa.
my boa career in the Argentines, and back when I got out of them to focus on the VPIs, I couldn't give them away. If you have an Argentine right now, sit on it because you can't find them anywhere. Nobody's got them.
Yeah, that's it. Occidentalis is another one of those snakes that I used to buy for $50.
Yep.
All day long. It's the snake that I got for free on the sexing challenge when I did the boa sexing thing, blind in a bag with a guy. Guy in Daytona just didn't believe me that I could sex snakes in a bag without looking at them by slide popping because Celia taught me that trick. This was in like 2000. Bro, that was a sucker's bet, but this was in 2004, like before anyone knew that trick. That trick was very, very unknown back in that early day. I don't even think
And
Pete
that's the
called me that
standard
trick.
now.
Yeah, I know it's a standard. Now, I don't even think Pete knew that trick back then. I really don't. Like I said, my ex taught me because she worked at East Bay Vivarium when she was in college,
Yeah.
and she showed me up when she worked in my shop, and so she's the one taught me. But yeah, man, I just bet the guy that I could pull him out of the bag blind and get 100% right. I get a pair of Argentine boas for free. And sure enough, got a pair of free Argentine boas.
The standard tradition now.
No, well, I mean, I wouldn't have done it to the guy. The guy just like tried to disrespect the fact that I knew what I was doing. He's like, kid, whatever. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, all right, bro. This was again 2004 Daytona. So, yeah, there was a guy in 2018 Pomona that had a backpack with them in it. Yeah, he must have just had a litter at home. Didn't know what the fuck to do with them. Didn't have a MorphMarket account. That's for sure.
Now, very hard.
Yeah. I mean, that's fucking crazy. It's just when you get into it, there's 18 of them on fucking MorphMarket for fuck's sake. Jesus. So,
which actually one of the cooler morphs that I've seen with the T positive, Glenn Easel had him on his table at Tinley, where he crossed the Argentine T positive into the RDR black-eyed anery, and he's calling it the Diesel. It's cool. Look that one up. It's really cool to look at.
Interesting. However, across, I hate to give him any traffic over it.
I get it.
Bro,
I get it.
I'm a little bit over that line. I'm a little bit on that side of that line.
Depending on who you talk to, the cross.
Too old for that. I'm too old for that. I'm loving that they're going to redescribe retics that all these people with 85%, 25, 87% are just admitting that they all have fucking shit. Garbage. Like, garbage. I've got two of them next door. I mean, I had fucking $4,000 worth of garbage can right next door in two anery super dwarf, whatever they're called, anery or axanthic or whatever the fuck they're called. I don't even know what they're called. I got them written down somewhere, whatever they are, but it is what it is. I mean, they're tiny still, so that's cool. And they're retics still, so they still feel cooler than a boa. So when a girl comes over and she's like, I like boas, and I'm like, how about this? And she's like, I like this better. Then yeah, I'm sorry. Retics definitely take the chick away from the boa. There's not very many things that take the chick away from the boa, bro. There's not.
Yeah,
but retics are one. So have boas always been it for you? Have they always been your shtick?
Yeah. I really don't know why. I just my first job when I was 15 years old, I got hired in a pet store. And
what pet shop is that? Is that still around or no?
No, they are not. It was called Petland. I know the.
It was a Petland franchise.
It was a Petland, but out here they're not around. They went out of business a long time.
Right. Nick, was that the Petland you worked at? Nick worked at a Petland up there. I don't know if he's still here with us. He might have worked. I think he worked at a Petland. I thought it was a Petland up there
by River Oaks Mall, if he knows where that's at.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So
that was the same one, but yeah.
There, and I had it for a month or two, and then they got in a boa constrictor, which I took that home, and then I had two snakes. Yeah. And then I just fell in love with one more than I did the other.
There she goes saying, no way boas beat ticks all day. But again, one live bearer to another, you're fucking biased.
I didn't even know what a retic was back then.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're fucking biased.
I was 15. Yeah. I knew that I had a boa constrictor. I didn't know anything else about it. And they sold it to me.
No, she's telling me, she's saying that I was wrong about retics being better than boas and that boas beat retics at that game. I think that's what she was referring to. And Genomic agrees that hold back, right? Yeah, whatever, guys. Like, you're not getting, I'm sorry, the colors you guys are pulling from boas look amazing. The boas look amazing. But again, I'm still kind of bored with the boa morphs. I don't know. I've been kind of bored with them. There's nothing that's been really like, ooh, except for like the T-Pot. Okay, so you had what? T-positive IMG stuff?
Yep.
Right, so that's really incredible. And then all of the
where the boas are at.
All of the bloody leopard progressions have been very awesome to me. Okay. Genomic says I sold my dwarf super dwarf project to buy boas. Genomic, I'm sorry. you very well might have not ever produced babies from them. I'm just saying. Not to say that the super dwarfs are that easy either, because they're not necessarily the simplest thing ever. You know, of course, Corbin being the giant shit sergeant that he is, says retics beat boas any day. I don't know, dude. I mean, I like boas when you can just put them together, have them breed like Tony says, go in there and just mop them up, you know, mop them up, separate them. Feed them hoppers, sell them like that. They're fucking great. But I mean, again, the most expensive boa I ever produced died like 2 days after I made it from just rotting of the flesh.
If you don't mind talking about it, what was it?
Okay, so the most expensive boa I ever made was the very first litter of Hypo Aztecs ever to hit the world. And I had the very first male sold for $17,500 to a guy named Kevin Ivins that lived here in New Orleans. He lived in Florida.
I remember one year talking to you and Celia at Tinley, and you guys, the Aztecs were still kind of the new and up and coming thing. And I want to say the Hypo Aztecs, you guys were asking 15 for, and I was 2007,
yeah.
Yeah, probably about that
2007. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the year. You could look up online when the high-tech boa was made on the ballpython.net.
You, right?
Yeah, it was us. Yeah, we named it. We made it. We made it first, yeah. But we also bought the only male Aztec from the Potts brothers the year prior. So like there was no one else that invested in the project. Like Tracy and
I remember the whole story about how a certain other big name breeder really turned his nose up at it. And
they all turned there. Yeah, I told a story on this podcast. I've told it a couple times. No, I have told it a couple times. Yeah. And ultimately, Pete was the first one. Jeremy followed suit. Colette followed after that. And therefore, all of Boadom walked away from them. So at that point, having 7 males in the tank made them really my oyster. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, fuck it. I'll take that one right there. Sure. Yeah, I mean, and those guys are always scuzzballs anyway, you know, so you got to watch them. Like, giving that kind of value to something, bro, those things could have been Central American hybrid. To be honest with you, I'll be totally straight with you. And you look at an Aztec now, a regular Aztec, and you think back, bro. I want you to reach back. Like, look, let's bring it up for the people. Let's show the good people what they want to see, right? Aztec's still on this motherfucker, right? And like kicked it off. Aztec, 160 Aztecs, 0 supers. You know, a basic Aztecs. Like, look at this Aztec. Like the very first ones we made were all ladder linked like this.
Yep.
If I would have been one of the scuzziest motherfuckers in the reptile industry, which I've never been, nor will I ever be, one of the scuzziest bastards in the industry, and it's not the person who I'm looking at their ad. It has nothing to do with what I'm looking at on MorphMarket right now. It has to do with, I want you guys to reach back in time. How can I do this? Can I do default least expensive? And that'll be the most one that looks, there you go. It's an Aztec that looks really, mine wasn't ugly. Like, well, I say ugly. I don't mean to be rude, but mine wasn't like overly patterned like this. I wanted a very clean bodied Aztec. So when I was buying, I wanted one that, Jesus Christ, I can't even find one that suits me, that is like stunning, where it's really linked together, right? If I would have told you, Tony, if I was one of the scuzziest people on earth and I was trying to, and I had 7 animals in front of you, could you believe, not knowing what you know, could you believe that a Aztec boa could potentially be a 3rd generation Argentine hybrid?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Oh, absolutely. Oh, fucking absolutely. Look at this Anery Aztec. This had a pattern a lot like the ones I was looking at.
Well, and what Occidentalis part of the reason why I say yes, because I've actually questioned, not even necessarily Argentine, but I've questioned whether it might be a Central American of some sort. Now,
okay, so a bunch of people said Central American in the original day that it came out, but I'm going to tell you right now, dude, these boas got big. They got nice size.
And that's where the Central American falls apart. But you look at their pattern, you look at specifically the head spear, and they get that cross. It almost has that Argentine. But the biggest thing that I noticed about them was Aztecs all have, and a lot of people that know boas will agree with this, they have an attitude.
Yeah, they have an attitude, but so do puzzle ball pythons, and I didn't start Aztecs.
A lot of the Colombian boas that we know generally do not. You know, I mean, yeah, you get a few random here and there, but Central Americans always have an attitude.
Yeah, so when you look at this boa with the circles down the back and stuff, you totally see what I mean, right? So I am like,
zoom in on that head spear.
Yeah, on that one, like right on the front.
Yeah, that looks Argentine.
Right, exactly. So like when you're sitting there in front of these fat sloppy fucks that own this business that have a vision cage with fucking 15 of these things just crawling around in there like they're free. And they tell you, I want $25,000 cash or $35,000 in trade, and I won't take a single ball python in trade. Dude, Pete was looking at this snake. What do you think Pete was thinking, man? Pete was thinking, don't fucking bother me again. That's all he told him, too. Like, he flat out told him. And look at this IMG that's selling for $1,600 now. The shit we're talking about, guys, happened in 2008, 2007, 2005. It was 2005 the year we got it. Okay.
Yeah. So Jill brings up a good point that the Aztecs and the IMGs are assholes. And I can 100% attest to that. The majority of
IMG high-tech mail was terrible, too. Yeah, I mean, so interesting.
They really are.
Bloods are aggressive, too. Blood stuff's aggressive, too. I always
never really messed with too many of the Bloods. I can't speak.
But
I know the IMGs. When I make a litter of IMGs, they go through their initial shed. You get them their first meal, and they all become real testy immediately. You got to work it out of them. Same thing with the Argentines.
Right. So yeah, dude. I mean, really, looking back on that scenario, it was crazy. But Celia loved it, right? And Celia was like, "I do not want to leave the show without it." And bro, we fought when she had to leave that show without it. Like, we fucking fought, bro. It was bad. It was bad. Like, I was thankful that I had a snake breeder chick that was with me and we were making lots of money and we were doing really well for ourselves. But boy, when she didn't get the boa she wanted, fuck.
The only time on record a man ever won an argument, huh?
Dude, I can remember being at the table, Tony, and just watching her get retics for the first time. Her and Kevin were just at the table, just goofing, just geeking out in her boa bins. Like, she brought all her boa bins to Nerd's table, and Kevin just completely left the front line and was just like with Celia in the back. And I was like, oh, fuck. What the fuck? I'm not going to make any money this year. She's going to trade it all away. And she did trade like $35,000 worth of shit away that day. But hey, they're boas, right? We had plenty of them. But back to that male, that was the original male high-tech, the very first male high-tech ever made. I didn't get a chance to save a male high-tech ever because that one died because it was the only one in the litter, man. And if you remember, that was a great litter. We had like 20-something babies. That litter was the most expensive single production I ever sold. I want to say that litter probably made us over $125,000.
I remember because it was the following year that I was looking to buy a male from you guys, and I remember you telling me about that.
God, it was such a great move, dude, and I'm so glad all of Boadum just walked away. They just fucking walked away in front of me, dude. It just like I don't know. It was an Elon feeling. I'll just say that. It was my Elon feeling. It was when somebody walked away from a fucking gold mine, and you're like, wait a minute, they just walk away? Really?
You just gotta love somebody.
What? But it really was snake egos in the fact that these dudes were not, they thought they had everything bagged up. They thought that shit was going to go to Daytona and they were going to come home with $200,000 and they were finally going to have their day, and Will's Hell Heat said, I never heard of a leopard boa before I seen this. You know who else hadn't heard of something regarding the leopard boas? The starter of leopard boas had never heard the fact that I never sold a possible het to that stupid fuck Hans. That I will always throw shade on my channel. Hurricane ball python guy. Yeah, that's him. Hans Winter. That always called that a fucking recessive, and it's not.
For Will, who's never heard of leopard boa, look them up. They're very dark gray.
Well, he's seen it, but that's what he's saying. Since he saw this podcast, he never heard of it. I mean, he's a ball python guy. What the fuck?
Okay, because now some of the combinations with the bloods or the
Justin can build it up.
They got the albinos. I think there's even an IMG leopard out there, which is really fires. Some of them are really cool looking. It's a gene I don't work with, but they are really cool.
Well, a gene you don't work with, but also a gene now it's its own species again, right? That's what I'm learning.
Yeah,
about all these new boa. That's why I said BC whatever in the description of this podcast. That's why I said that.
Absolutely.
Because in my day, it's BCI from Mexico to the top of the fucking basin. It's BCI all the way. I mean, everything's BCI. Everything. Right. I mean, even
all of the morphs we've seen out there. Well, actually, I know there's a lot of misconception around that, even because I believe it was the
I gotta be honest. I still refuse to believe that there was a Motley and Nick and a Motley in Colombia, and they both
And
have the
Central
same
American.
detrimental super. That's what I'm like.
And
Nicaragua.
we could make the same argument about the fires with the super fire. I find it impossible to believe. Now, we all know the story, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. The Brazilian boa that was illegally imported to the U.S. We all know that story. But I find it impossible to believe that the same
You think
guy,
Jeremy has his Interpol warrant framed in his house? I would. If you had an Interpol warrant, I mean, come on, Cop
I would
Tony.
frame it.
Come on, Cop Tony. If you had an Interpol warrant, for fucking sure it'd be framed, right?
Well,
I mean, I gotta
where I
find
was
it
going
somewhere
with
on my
this
phone.
is the original fires. We could make the argument that it was a Brazilian boa, and the same guy, Jeremy, came out with the Colombian fires and the Central American fires, which both have the same super form, being an all white, 1 year apart from each other, maybe even in the same year.
Yeah.
So you just got that lucky that you found two Lucy's, which are unrelated, and in a Colombian and a Central American, unrelated, and they both do the same thing. I don't buy it.
Maybe the Argentine Motley explains this whole thing. You ready?
Hit me.
The Argentine Motley supposedly was a random mutation that came out of John Mack's T-positive Argentine albino line.
Which, you know, I could almost understand that, because now you're a corn snake guy also.
I'm a corn snake guy fundamentally, and there's a Motley in corn snakes that's recessive.
And it looks relative. Oh, it's recessive though.
It's recessive, and in Motley in corn snakes are recessive, and it's also the same allele as stripe in corn snakes. So they're both clear belly genes, right? So they both have white stomachs. They both have completely, because you know a corn snake has a checkerboard stomach.
Okay.
So a Motley and a striped corn have a completely white belly. And if you breed a Motley and a stripe together, you'll get all white-bellied combination mixed pattern homozygotes, okay? You won't get any normals from them. If you breed a stripe and a Motley, we gave him a cute, I didn't give him a cute name, old school Tim Rainwater, who was also an old good guy, then turned hated guy for a while there with retics and leopard geckos. Tim Rainwater did that whole thing, right? He bred them and called them cubes because the Motley circles and the stripes square off the circles into squares. So he actually called it cubed corn, and a cube is basically just a stripe and a Motley bred together. But back to boas, the Motley is of course co-dominant in boas, but it's co-dominant in the Argentine boa, it's co-dominant in the Colombian BCI, co-dominant in the Nicaraguan BCI, or Central American, whatever you want. I call them Nicaraguan because they all came from Nicaragua, because that's the most horrible country there that they farm all the shit in. That's all. They're all Nick boas because that's the horrible country that slashed and burned everything and just set up these giant breeding. Like, they don't really send Central American boas out of El Salvador, I don't think. Right? Like farms. Like there's iguana farms in El Salvador, right? But there's like no Central American boa farms that I know of exporting from El Salvador. They were all Nicaraguan farms. But it's like my buddy said, when you fly over Nicaragua and Honduras and shit, Nicaragua just looks like an old cigarette ashtray because they've just fucked the whole country up. And so you're just like, oh yeah, that's where they do all the farming. You know,
I'd be the wrong person to ask. You know, I know a lot of boa breeders have contacts in other countries. They've got farmers that they import the random stuff from. I'm just not one of them. I wouldn't even know where to start to get lucky like that.
Well, would you practice bringing it in the country with your sister using a fake pregnancy belly on a cruise ship? That's the real question of the hour, right? I mean, like when my boy was like, dude, is this Jeremy Stone? And he texts me the Interpol warrant. I'm like, yeah, it's Jeremy. And he's like, dude, he tried to get on a cruise ship with his sister. I'm like, yeah, bro. Leave it up to a Mormon to learn how to steal by watching a Jane's Addiction music video. Been caught stealing.
We can sit here and hate on him all day long.
Oh, I'm not hating on him. I'm just commenting on the fact that that's how they tried to smuggle a boat. I'm not hating on the guy at all. I'm saying I'm all about, look, man, my local veterinarian in New Orleans that operates a practice that I don't patronize. Like, he's a good guy and he knows what he's doing, you know, but all my animals go to research vets at LSU. They don't go to a regular practitioner. But he's a regular practicing vet, and he came by my reptile show table like a couple of years ago, and he's like, Sean, we have to talk about these conversations you have with customers. And I'm like, why is that? And he was like, I was over here earlier, and you were promoting smuggling. And I was like, of course I was promoting smuggling. Where else are we going to get new blood from, Doc? Where am I going to get the next new ball python gene from, Doc? Where am I going to get the next cool new Antaresia morph from Australia from, Doc? Or bearded dragon morph from, huh?
And that's
I
the
mean,
thing that I think a lot of people
I can't
overlook.
believe you condone smuggling. I'm like, well, at this point, I don't condone fish keeping as much as I condone reptile smuggling. How about that? I mean, I've seen less reptiles harmed in the smuggling of high-end reptiles than I've seen, anything else. But I mean, dude, really, like, what chance do we really fucking have to really see some of this stuff? I mean, like, this stuff wouldn't have ever made it to this point.
Well, and that's kind of my point. We can sit here and hate on it all day long. He's whatever word you want to call it. I don't want to throw anything out there. But at the end of the day, look at what it did for the boa constrictor hobby. And
sure. I mean, it's a white boa. I'm not really sure what it did for the boa hobby other than make women have a boa they liked as much as a ball python they liked.
I don't think that the white boa is the real treasure in that gene. And this is just my opinion. But I think when you're looking at the fires, it's the het version. That's the real reward. Because you start mixing the het into the Aztecs, the jungles, the motleys, and that's where it looks really cool. Once it hits white, it's a dead end.
I agree. You have an almost hypo snake that's not a hypo in that sense, just like in a ball python, and it's unlocking all these new potentials of colors that haven't been mixed up, right?
Right.
And so 4S says, if they got caught smuggling at once, how many times do you think they hit it without getting caught? No, they got caught trying a couple different methods. They were being watched try a few different methods that they recorded, and then I'm not sure how it got in. I'm really honestly not sure how it got in. So
you know more about it than I do at this point.
Yeah, no, I just know the failed attempts that were hilarious. I mean, I'm sorry. I had to message him and be like, bro,
we'll have to get a beer
addiction video.
I would like to know that story, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if Jeremy would come on the old ball shit. He might. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, man. I mean, he's been a big driving force of boa constrictors. He wasn't always the easiest person to compete against, especially not when him and Tom Burke got in the same space together. That was always a bad place to be, because they were always showing each other up. But
to pay the fair respects, when I first got into the boa world, Jeremy
was a giant.
He was a giant. Yeah,
he's a giant. But I mean, he was the West Coast Pete call. Because nobody else did. Like, he was really Pete's follow behind. And that's why I was really shocked to see him walk away from Aztec that day, because it seemed like it was right up his alley. Pete walked away from it. I had my fingers crossed hoping that he wouldn't go for it, and he didn't go for it. But like, I was looking at him like, dude, this is something that's here. But then again, I'm a corn snake guy, and like you say, Tony, look, after a while you see things in this market and you kind of hone in on them, and you're like,
and to give Jeremy
cool.
his fair shake, one of the things that he did that nobody else did, and we're talking about Tom Burke, we're talking about even Jeff Ronnie, Pete Call, is Jeremy took advantage of what we're doing right now, the social media platform.
That's right.
Because I remember 2009, all of a sudden, I was still a nobody in boas, small end breeder. And I remember watching some of Jeremy Stone's boaconstrictor.com videos. And once a month, he would come out with a new YouTube video. And I would always be checking towards the end of the month, where's his new video? Where's his new video? And then when it came, I was mesmerized looking at some of these breedings, some of these babies that he made. And, if back then YouTube was not nearly what it is now, but if it got 10,000 views back then, imagine what it would have been now. And the people the people that it brought into the hobby that were not necessarily breeders. I mean, even me, I was watching these videos, and what it did for the boa constrictor or reptile hobby as a whole in an era where the social media platform is not nearly what it is right now.
Is anybody putting the spotlight on boas in the social media area right now, in your opinion?
Oh boy, I know where this is going.
No, it's not. No, it's really not going anywhere. No, it's really, truly a genuine question, and I genuinely mean, and I did not mean anything negative.
No. What I mean by that is it's been about 7 years now. I actually did run a YouTube channel. It's still up. You can see all the videos, Chi-Town Constrictors, or just my name, whatever. Okay. And I did, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 videos. And I was trying to do educational, showing off some things, some breeding videos, just trying to make it a little bit of fun. And I got away from it. I got too busy in my personal life. I got really busy with everything else that it fell on the back burner. And I've had a lot of people approach me. Some people message me on Facebook. People come to me at Tinley, and they're like, hey, when are you going to do another video? And I haven't done one in probably 3 years now, maybe 4. And I've gotten a very positive response, and people really enjoyed my videos.
I think you should do it.
Yeah, well, you know how it is when you run these podcasts. It is a lot of work, even to make
It is, but look, I can tell you how this is done now. And granted, like I'm not. We'll get to Jillian's question here in a second, but I'm not even remotely deeply invested in this podcast production so much as I'm invested in the people that I'm bringing on, the time that I'm spending with them, and the time that I'm trying to spend with my sponsors to get things done. You know,
Right.
this is easy, Tony. This has been simply easy to do this time around. And the reason why is because of the fucking internet and the technology.
And I think the podcast, and I don't mean for this to come off wrong, but the podcast might be a little easier because it's just a matter of we're going live. We're going to have a conversation, and wherever we go, we go. When I was making videos, I had a specific thing that I wanted to teach. And then I got to take pictures or videos of the animals. And I'm a perfectionist. So if I so much as stutter while I'm talking about it, I'm deleting the clip and I got to retake it all again.
Terrible idea. Because I'll tell you honestly now, bro, listen, when I started Ballsh in 2015, Tony, I think the money I spent on sound quality counted and mattered.
Oh, yeah.
And had a serious bit to do with my success. I don't think it matters even remotely now like it mattered in 2015 on audio. I think this is a $400 microphone, dude. John Feely is using a $100 microphone that is almost every bit as good as this. Okay. This board right here is a $600, maybe $700 board, and it does everything you'd ever needed to do for podcasting, live feeding, streaming, editing, producing, everything, and it's got
I think
sound ball things on and everything. And that with this stuff, you could take a camera and go to one of those tubs and do a presentation on one of those tubs. And you know what? If you say guess what? It makes you human.
See, and that's my problem. I wanted music in the background with my logo on the screen, with everything.
Yeah, you want to produce a big time show and realize that in today's world, they care more about the content you can bring them in the amount you can bring it than they care about that fit and finish.
To do a 7-minute video, just to put it in perspective, would take me 5 hours of shooting, editing, putting pictures in. And it's a lot of work, you know, especially when I've got a daughter, I've got snakes, I've got the police canine now, I've got the fish tanks, and I'm busy. You're
a busy guy. Exactly. You're a busy guy, but that's what I'm saying. StreamYard, hit the live button, and dude, I am not kidding you. These lights were $75 a piece. They're not very expensive. This green screen was a roll down one, right? I mean, you don't even need a background, right? You don't need that. You got a background.
I kind of like my background.
I like your background with the fish tank and with the snake cages. I think it brings the best of all the worlds in. I just have no place that I had a building with an empty room that I can make into a production room in a room full of in a building full of reptiles and stuff. So yeah, bro. So going back to Gillian's question, Tony, you have a bunch of Aztec stuff. You notice higher metabolism in them. I feed my Aztecs more than I feed my other animals to keep proper body structure, especially prior to 2 years old. I think mine were probably a little bit more advantageous growers and such, but I don't know what Tony.
I would say, a little bit. Now, I'll admit to my own negligence here in saying that I don't notice because I kind of have a feeding schedule. I like to just feed stuff on Sundays. So if I notice my boa has, I'm not regurgitated, digested a little bit faster than the rest, I don't just feed them because they digested faster. I'm going to feed them the next time it's a Sunday. When you speak of the higher metabolism, I'm going to say yes, specifically based on the fact that they seem to be more energetic and snippy. Going back to what we talked about earlier with the Aztecs, and they can be a little bit of a fucker sometimes. I've said this about the IMGs many times where I feel they have a higher metabolism. I don't know if it's because they're black and they have darker skin pigmentation. Maybe it allows them to digest faster because they absorb heat. I don't know. But they definitely seem to be more energetic snakes. And the Aztecs are very much the same way. And I don't know that it's necessarily growing faster because I think at least in my room here, they grow about the same as everything else, but they're also being fed the same as everything else. But I've noticed they definitely have a little bit more energy than everything else where they're not afraid to fight me if they need to, if that makes a little bit of sense.
All right.
They can be a little bit more snippy. And I don't know if that's a metabolism thing, but I would kind of say, based on that.
Well. Hey,
all right. I can find a new girlfriend here.
Yeah, I know, right? Just block that out. Gotta like it. Now we're getting popular, so we're starting to get the porn spam bots hit the chat. So that's good. At least we're on the map. Still don't have enough subscribers to get paid for any super chats or anything, but we can definitely get some fucking porn chats up. So
We're gonna get there.
thanks a lot for that. So yeah, we'll get there eventually. I'll just release 1,000 shows. And that's what I was telling you, bro. Like I released from 2015 to 18, 19, I released like 55 maybe or so shows that I had to edit and gruel through and all this shit, right, bro? But now I've put out, I think this is episode 27 since I started this in August. So twice a week, Tuesdays, off topic like this, Fridays with ball python people. And I'm done, bro. Like I don't do any editing. I just, I upload that little bit we did before and a little bit we did after.
Way to go.
And really, it's the way.
I got a really good response of all of my YouTube videos, and there wasn't many, maybe 10 total over a couple of years. But I thought they were really well done. They were professional and they were informative. And there was a couple of videos that actually I shot over like 4 months' time to put it all into a 7-minute video to show updating on breeding and ultrasounding and the progress of the breeding and everything, and came together for 7 minutes. But it was really 4 or 5 months worth of time gone into that.
Who's your favorite boa breeder you've had in all of your years of the boa kingdom?
My absolute favorite boa
Who's been
breeder.
your most entertaining favorite go-to all around?
I would say that answer has changed over time. When I was
Okay.
younger, it would have been Jeremy Stone for sure. Jeremy did some really cutting edge stuff. He made a lot of world firsts, and his YouTube channel was just amazing. I loved it.
That was the only person in the boa
the
space
only
at that
one, yeah.
time doing YouTube
Yes.
videos. No one else was fucking with that. Jeff Ronnie was too busy building cages,
Yeah,
finding all the money in plastic, all that easy money that didn't talk back,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
all that.
So Jeremy, I think set the way for that because his video was awesome. Where I remember waiting and checking the internet daily for his new video to come out. I remember that. Now, it would be hard to pick one because I think the quality of what's happened in boas has just gone so above and beyond anything that we ever thought could even happen. Like Chaz Schillens has some of the absolute nicest, most beautiful boas that I never thought could exist. And of course, he's great with photography too. So he can get real pictures of real snakes, and it's like, holy shit, that is alive.
And
That's
that becomes a serious challenge for you boa people, bro, because y'all got some colors to get, and you suck at getting them. Yeah,
so Chaz has found the best of both worlds to make the animals and the pictures all look at one. But then there's a couple of sleeper people. Sergio Hernandez, not a name you're going to hear a lot. It's not a name that you're going to find on MorphMarket at all, I don't think. But he's a sleeper. He's probably got 150 boas, and they're honestly probably the nicest boas that have ever lived. He's the kind
so
of
when
guy.
that comes around, bro, like how often does that come around in your opinion? Because I've seen that a bunch of times, Tony, where like somebody's come in and dropped serious money that they've earned from other industries.
I agree with you.
In this industry on high-end boas and had some of the finest, best, and
then
some of them have never even made a baby for sale.
Well,
and I'm not trying to put pressure or throw shade on the
you're
young
right.
ones,
You're 100%
the young ones
right.
that are coming up. But I will say this, boa people, if you decide to bite this fucking thing off, right? You better chew it for a long time before you spit it out. Because if you spit it out, you're either spitting out dead snakes because of some stupid mistake you made with virus or arenavirus or something like that, or you're spitting out absolutely fully grown, ready to breed, easy stuff for a guy like this dude next to me, and he's going to make his money off of it, and you're not going to make a fucking dime. So please, like, encourage these folks to invest with you, but also encourage these folks to have patience, because boas is a patience game.
Yes, it is. And to play fair, there are.
I don't think reptiles are a patience game, but within reptiles, boas are a definite patience game within the game of already a bunch of impatient fucks. That's it.
To play completely fair, there are a handful of names in boas that are exactly what you said. People that came in with money, they bought a lot of high-end stuff because they want to get a quick investment out.
And I'm not really thinking of anyone in particular. I'm thinking that it exists in every 4 or 5 year cluster of great looking boas exists a chance baker that never makes a single thing. right.
There's a few in my
Chase
head
Baker, I'm
that
sorry.
I can think of that I would love to see get out of the boas because of that exact thing where they came in, they bought a lot of high-end stuff. They're having success and they're breeding them very well, but now they've got 500 boa babies and they're crashing the market. You can go on MorphMarket right now, and there's a couple of breeders in particular that are selling certain combos at a third of the price of everybody else just because they've overpopulated and overproduced, and they don't have the established name or the reputation for the quality or anything. A couple of people I would love to see get out because of that exact reason. Sergio, that we were just talking about, he's so underground that a lot of people don't even know who he is. He's been in it for a lot longer. He's not one of these new guys that came in with a lot of money, and he's actually been producing stuff. I've got some here in this room that are 2014s, 2015s that a lot of people have never even heard of because he produces 1 or 2 litters, but they're the best of the best. He sells them to a few select people, and then he goes back underground. He's on Facebook, but you'll never find him.
Sounded like the Chondro club right there. Bro.
Very, very small.
Very small clientele. Mike said, Tony, have you seen John Carlson's new project? I don't know if JC has got anything great.
John Carlson, is that the Pied or the White Walls by chance? I'm not sure. I know the name.
He's right there. He's right there with you. Well, he's a wholesaler there in Chicago.
John Carlson. I know the name, and I want to say yes, but I want to make sure it's the right project before I commit to saying yes.
Yeah. John's been around forever, ever. If you knew him.
Does John have a business name that he goes by? I know the name, but
what's John's business?
You know, I mind my own business a lot, and
he's a wholesaler in the Chicagoland area, and he's been around forever, ever. You totally recognize him if you saw him too, from Tinley, especially.
You know, I'm terrible with names and faces. Which is a terrible trait for being a cop, by the way.
Yeah,
I'll be in the grocery store and people are coming up to me asking.
Well, I mean, yeah, in that case, they know you. You don't know them. But that's a little bit different.
And I'm the worst at it. I really am. Yeah, so the name sounds familiar. I'm just having trouble putting a name on or a face and more specifically the project, what it is.
Yeah. So he'll get to us what the project name, whatever it is. You can go look it up. He doesn't even know what it is. He was just throwing that out there just to throw conversation in the wind. Let me pull up your Instagram page. We'll start going through some of your stuff since we're ticking down on the last edge of it, and we're starting getting all good. So there you go. Red rum, BPI is Aztec.
So that
BPI is
Red rum Aztec. Yeah. So Aztec. That male
Red rum Aztec.
I got some really big plans for him. He's breeding right now, actually.
Yeah. And Aztec had great color to it, man. The pinks and the oranges that come off of it, especially red. Exclusively Exotics is the name of John Carlson.
Yeah. What's the name of the project?
He said he's not sure if he put them out there yet. So I don't know.
Okay.
Secret
if I knew a name, I might be able to give you a better answer.
Yeah.
If I knew the name of the project.
Nice. Very nice.
So
very
those ones, the female is obviously full stripe jungle. And she gave me a litter 2 years ago, and all of the jungles, you know, when it comes to jungles, some people have to sell possible jungles or jungles that they think are, and then there's jungles that'll slap you in the head and tell you, duh, I'm a jungle. Yeah. She's one of those duh jungles.
Oh, yeah, definitely. She was not one of the ones Pete was asking Celia to come
all of her babies came out the exact same. She throws a very strong jungle gene, which is why I'm so excited about that pairing, because that's a labyrinth male. And the labyrinth and the jungle, historically, when they've been done, have been very hard to tell. Jeff Ronnie, actually, from a conversation I had with him, will not sell a labyrinth jungle. He'll sell it as a labyrinth possible jungle, but he doesn't know for sure, so he's not comfortable selling them as labyrinth jungles, which is why I'm excited about this pairing, because I have a feeling it's going to be duh jungles. You know, they're going to tell on themselves. I hope.
Right. Yeah, those were the interesting days. Possible jungle. That was always fun explaining.
Another one extremely excited about. So the IMG Labyrinth female here, she is Het VPI, but she is 50% Het Anery as well. I picked her out of the goo. Jeff Ronnie produced her over at Boafile, and he sent me pictures just out of excitement. Check out this litter I just had. IMG Labyrinths, blah, blah, blah. And this particular female was stretched. I still have the picture, as a matter of fact. Was stretched out across the pile of goo with all the babies, and I said, that one, I want that one. And he said, well, they're all 50% het anery, and I don't know if there's any IMGs. And I said, that one right there is an IMG. And I'm telling you, looking at all these, that's going to be het anery. So I'm pretty sure she's going to be double het snow. Obviously, I'm trying to prove it right here. I won't know for a couple of months, hopefully. But with any luck, I'll have Snow Glow IMG Labyrinths based out of that.
So yeah, Mike said John doesn't even know what it is. Jeff Ronnie doesn't know what it is. Unnamed,
You know what?
something new from a wild caught Colombian.
He just said Jeff Ronnie, so I know exactly what he's talking about now.
Okay.
Yes, I've seen those. John, older guy, he always wears a hat. He's got like a mullet.
Always wear a hat with kind of scraggly hair behind his head with glasses on that look like he hadn't had them changed since the 70s.
So I know exactly I know exactly which boas you're talking
John.
about now that you said Jeff Ronnie. He actually had them on display at Tinley this year. I forget what he's calling them. Diesel? No, not Diesel. They've got a weird name. Jigsaw or something. They're cool. And I will be shocked if those do not prove out to be a genetic morph. It's going to be a mutation of some sort, because I've seen the 2 or 3 that John has, and I know he's raised them up. They're probably 2 or 3 years old now. That is going to be a thing. Whatever he calls it, I don't know if it's going to be codom or recessive, but it is going to prove out to be something. I promise you that. They're cool.
Yeah, I'll have to see it. I'll have to check it out. I wish John would come on the show. Come on, Mike. Get John on the show.
Does he even have a
Come on, Mike.
He doesn't seem like a technology
come
guy.
on the show. I can't really do a John impression with my eyes squinty.
Matter of fact,
kind of like that.
If I bet you I could probably pull it up right now. Jeff Ronnie's Facebook page, he posted a picture of him at Tinley on his page.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'll pull him up right now while I'm talking to you.
Yes, I'm pulling up.
100%. I remember seeing a picture of those.
Yep. New morphs are always great. I wish new morphs would happen to ball pythons that weren't a fucking black scale behind the left eye.
He calls it the Jumanji. I've got it right here.
Jumanji.
So, Sean, I'm going to send it to you on Facebook Messenger if you want.
Do that.
No?
I can, yeah. Go ahead. Do it that way or on Instagram Messenger, either one. Either one. Whichever one you want to link it to. It doesn't matter to me.
All right. I just sent it to you. This is a picture of Jeff holding it at his booth at Tinley. It's cool looking. It's
it's definitely weird.
Yeah, there's something to that.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. No.
But what now? This picture is hard to tell because it's obviously wrapped around his hand. But it almost has like, remember the old granite boas, which I know never became a thing. They disappeared from the face of the earth.
Yeah, anytime you have that degraded pattern like that looks kind of like a Hog Island boa, like a Hog Island boa is like disintegrations, like a Hog Island boa disintegrates like that,
exactly.
Like in the pattern, like a hypo thing. It's definitely weird. The thing that gets me the most though is the head and the overall coloration of it, and especially this rosiness by the nose. Like, is this supposed to be like a non-hypo animal? And
yeah, again, wild caught. He doesn't know much about it.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, did you ever see that strawberry boa that I had?
Yes, I remember that. That went to, his name was Johnny. He passed away, if I remember correctly.
It went to John Dow. That's right. Yes. John Dow, D-A-U. He passed away of a leg infection.
He went into business with Rich Del Bono.
Which Del Bono got it.
That was the last I heard of it.
Del Bono got it and then maybe produced from it once and then nothing ever came of it. Now, what's funny is, you know where that snake came from? G.I. Joe. Remember Joe Rollo? G.I. Joe used the G.I. Joe, BCI Joe? Remember BCI Joe? And he used the G.I. Joe fucking font. And his logo was the G.I. Joe, but BCI Joe, Joe Rollo. Joe Rollo was walking through Daytona and gave a guy $175 for that boa. And then, wait. And then went to like barely feed it and then have it throw up and regurge and be all run down and all shitty. And it was so spectacular looking. Like, I thought it was going to be a whole new line of T-positive albino or something. It was very weird.
Joe, before he passed, actually was a good friend of mine, and I remember him sending me all the pictures
of her as an adult.
Yeah, the new up-and-coming T-positive.
Bro, that was going to be something. That
It
was
looked
gonna. That
different
should have
as
been
a baby than it did as an adult. By the time
correct.
I saw it as an adult, it looked like a hypo.
Correct. Which is what makes me see in the face of this animal how pink the face is, and how weird the pattern is and stuff. Because the pattern on that snake was weird. And the thing that gets me is that if you look, you see my cursor focusing in right down here. If you look right here, none of this black is black. It's all that weird maroonish kind
like
of
a reverse paradox.
gray, like a tyrosine positive positive black, like melanin that's not quite melanistic, if that makes sense. I hope the fuck somebody produces it. I paid Joe $15,000 for that boa he bought for $175. And when he sent it to me,
it's still alive. To be honest.
No. It's if it died with Rich Delbano. It died in his collection, and Delbano and another friend of mine had a real problem with each other. And so this other friend of mine was telling me, Rich got all those boas from that guy that died, Joe, that got them all from you. Rich has got them all, and he's breeding them all, and he's not giving anything to you, and he knows they're yours. And then when I hit him up, he's like, dude, I didn't know they were yours. Actually. Yeah, I didn't know they were yours. And to be honest with you, look, dude, one of those was the original high-tech females from that year. They were so amazing. I gave one to Joe to raise up and just keep as a breeder loan. And when Rich got it, and they were, of course, high techs were still really valuable. I reached out to Rich, and he acted like he didn't owe me anything. And I'm like, bro, they were my snakes, dude. I don't care what you paid his wife for them. They were fucking mine. I was like, so that and Strawberry were mine. I was like, so if you don't want to give them back to me, that's fine, but you're going to at least give me babies from them, And Rich did send the Aztec back, the high-tech boa female back to me, all on his dollar. He didn't charge me any shipping or anything. He was all really cool about it. And the Strawberry thing, he was supposed to send me some babies from, but I never got them and still haven't. I imagine Rich is not around anymore, or is he still around?
No, he's very much so. And honestly, he produces some of the really nicer boas that are out there.
And then look, if it never fruited, I don't expect anything. You know what I mean? Like, but if it was fruitful and the dude's over there with like a whole line of T-positive boas, bro, I fucking want my piece.
Here's
I
the thing about Rich is he's got so many lines of T-positive. Some of them he's created himself. He creates the Da Vinci T-positive, which we can make assumptions all day long on what it is, but what a lot of people think he does is he takes a Central American T-positive and he breeds it to a Colombian hypo, and he makes a hybrid and he gives it a new name. And then he takes a Honduran T-positive and he breeds it to a Central American and he makes a new thing. He's got more lines of T-positive that honestly you can't keep up with. So I don't know for certain that the Strawberry ever came to anything, but if it did, it's got a new name, and we'll never know it.
Oh, I'm sure it's got a new name. I'm sure if he did produce it would have a new name, and he would never.
Yeah, like Savage said, he's got platinum T-positive.
Yeah, he's got platinum,
Da Vinci
stuff,
T-positive. I mean, he's got all these different lines of T-positive. I mean, he's the luckiest.
It really sucks, bro. Like, it really sucks because that was all like a just let's share it. Let somebody do it. Why you got to go steal and thunder and shit. That just sucks, bro. Like, and honestly, that was the last time I really sent anything out that I really cared about after Joe died. And I was just like, well, fuck, all my stuff's gone. It's the first time that ever happened to me where my shit got tied up in somebody's, strange medical debacle. And I remember I was talking to him. It was right after I was in a wheelchair even, and Joe was like, yeah, bro, I got this infection in my foot. And I'm like, yeah, you ought to get that looked at. And then that was it.
And then before you know it, he was gone.
He was dead. Yeah, he was gone. And we used to do a lot of business. I mean, him and Celia used to do like 20 grand a year just in wholesale back and forth. She'd buy all of his boas from him. But yeah, that's a shame. Shame to lose him. Shame to lose the project like Strawberry. But hope that something like this fruits again, because
and the reason
honestly, it was a really cool project
is it's not the only animal. He's got like 2 or 3 of them that we believe are all litter mates. Again, wild caught, so we can only make assumptions. But he's got 2 or 3 of them that look just like that. He's got, I think, a male and 2 females, or vice versa. But there's more than one. So I do think there's some, and I've seen them all in person. I've held them. There is something to that, I believe.
I mean, dude, there's something to a boa, like when a boa person that's seen as many boas as this guy right here has.
Right.
Not me.
We've seen a lot of wild caught stuff. He imports
and seen a lot of imported shit. No, I'm talking about you. and seen as much stuff as you've seen, and of course see as much stuff as John's seen. Because I mean, Carlson, yeah, he's had so much fucking,
Been around a long
so
time.
much shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had so much shit. But he's been around. And when you see something as variable as this, like pixelation here, this is what really fucks with me. Like if I saw this and you crossed my path with this, a lot like Joe Rolo did with that snake. When he said, I said, Joe, be fucking honest with me. What did you give for this snake? He's like, I'll be fucking honest with you. I gave $175 for it at Daytona. And I was like, okay. And what was it sold as? And he was like, oh, dude, it was sold as a hypo or a funny looking normal or something. It wasn't sold as anything special.
All right.
And it wasn't, and it was in a time when VPI T positives
let's talk
were
about that. So
all the way.
Not a lot of people know the real story about how IMG came to be. I'm sure you probably do. You've been around enough.
Yeah, he bought it at a
very
show.
much like that. Pete Call, I believe, Daytona.
Yeah, it was a Daytona show.
Walking around, sees a vendor. Feel free to interrupt me if I get any of the story wrong. But
you're probably closer to this one than me.
He's got a guy with an Annery boa on his table, and Pete Call says, "What the fuck is that?" And he's like, "It's just an Annery." And Pete Call's like, "Well, fuck, I want it. How $100, 200, whatever it was back then. I don't know." And the guy's like, "Pete, I don't know why you're making such a big deal about this. It's just an Annery." And I remember having this conversation with Pete at Tinley in 2009, 2011. And Pete is telling me this story. And he's like, yeah, the guy that I bought it from was like, Pete, I don't know why you're making such a big deal about it. It's just an Annery boa. And I remember Pete's exact words were, I wish I knew who that fucking guy was because I'd like to show him how much money I made off his ass. And that's where the IMG came in, because as it grew, it became blacker and blacker.
And then he told me I produced it, and look, I grew up a bunch, and they all grew up like that. And I was like, dude, how much? I'll give you 25 grand for one. You know what he said? Not on a fucking life, Sean. Not with you and Celia and that fucking sonogram. That's what he said. Not with you and Celia and that fucking sonogram. He wouldn't sell me any ball pythons that year, and he wouldn't sell me IMG.
Yeah.
All because I produced we did so well with the ultrasound, he just didn't want it to happen,
See, and I've had the opposite experience with the ultrasound. It's made nothing but my life harder because I've tried to make it too scientific.
I think you've tried to do what ball python people have pretty much done with it, and you can't fucking do it.
You can't.
It's not with the shit you do, you can't do it.
And that's the main point.
However,
it can't be done.
Having one to look for females after they have babies ain't too bad of a deal either. And that's what I used it for, more on boas than breeding. But to be sure that they always had everything gone, that there was no ovum hung up, that there was no babies dead in there, that there was no fucking residual, nothing shoved up in there. And if there was, they went to LSU and inside and pulled it out.
Sean, one thing that I would like to talk about, actually, and I've been meaning to make a YouTube video on this back before I just kind of stopped making YouTube videos, is, as boa breeders, at least if you're like me, I'm in this room 4, 5, 6 times a day sometimes. And the best thing you can do that's ultimately going to help with the health of your boas, the success rate of your boas, is just pay attention to your boas. They're going to tell you what you need to know. And there's a story here that I have behind this. Back in 2018, I switched over to the corrugated cardboard, and I actually cut some of it off to talk about it. This stuff, all right?
Yeah.
You can buy it in a huge roll, and you see a lot of breeders using this stuff. It's great. It's absorbent. It's got a little bit of lines where the liquid's going to fall in the cracks. The first year that I ever bought this stuff, I redid all of my female cages with this. I bred them all on this. Did very well. All of my females seemed to be doing exactly what you want. It was exactly the way that we know it by the book, where they would swell, they would have the big football ovulation, then they would go into heat conservative position and sit on the heat. And that's where it started to go wrong. And I've been meaning to make a YouTube video about this stuff specific for this reason that I'm about to tell you. Is the first female, her due date came, and I've always been very good on my due dates. I catch ovulation, I catch the shed, and I can get the due date down to a T. I'm usually 100%, give or take 1 day. And my first female, her due date came and went. She ended up going 6 weeks overdue, which for boas is unheard of. 6 weeks overdue. And then she drops babies, and they're all premature. They're very small. They have huge yolk sacs attached, huge yolk bellies, and they were all dead immediately. And I was like, wow, that was a freak incident. Like, why would they go 6 weeks overdue and still be premature? That doesn't make sense. And then the second one did the exact same thing and went 2 months overdue, and they were still born premature, big yolk sacs, and they all died. Then the third one, then the fourth one, and they all did this. And then I started to pay attention. And I said, you know what? After they were done breeding, I never swapped them back, and I never put them back on Aspen. I kept them on this stuff. This stuff is, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch thick, give or take. But what I noticed is they were all coiled up, not just sitting on the heat, but they were coiled like vertically, wrapped tighter than a pretzel. They were telling me the whole time that they were cold because I literally insulated them off of the heat.
Right.
So now what I've gotten in the practice of doing is I'll breed on this, or I'll breed on the craft paper, which is much thinner. And if you touch it with your hand, you can still feel the heat. You can still feel the warmth. And they like that better. But you put this in the cage and you put your hand on top of it, you're not feeling any heat. There's none. So the only heat that they get is the ambient, which I keep my room fluctuates based on the outside temperature. If it's real cold outside, the room in here will drop a little bit.
That's pretty interesting correlation, though, but it makes total sense. Unless that's wet, it's not going to move heat through.
Yeah.
It has to be wet. You'd have to wet it down every day or something for it to move.
Using that corrugated paper, I literally was insulating them away from the heat. And all of my litters that year were unsuccessful because even going, I call it cooked. They cooked them for 2 months too long, and they were still undercooked.
I'll be honest, bro. My best years were Aspen through and through. Okay?
Yeah.
Through and through Aspen, like through and through breeding on them, through and through letting them lay on it. And people were like, what about the babies? And I was like, the Aspen's sharp and it busts up all the egg sacs. When the mom drags her head, mom drags her head through the babies and shit after she has them. That's when boas pop out a bunch. That's what she typically will do. She'll move her head and she'll move them around and stuff to get them moving, to get them
the only
like
problem
breathing
that I found with
and
the
all that.
Aspen is I've had one
Makes
too
a
many
fucking
males.
mess.
Is they get it stuck on their hemipene and they retract it and they end up getting it infected. Now
You
you
get
can
an
catch
infected hemipene.
I need to check them
and they will prolapse that hemipene.
exactly.
Boa constrictors, when that does happen, they will typically prolapse that peen and lose it. A lot of times they will. Yeah, a lot of times.
So I've had too many infected hemipenes and it goes badly. So I like to breed now on paper, or that's why I brought this in, thinking it would be better. And this actually backfired. So again, going back to what we were talking about.
So indented craft paper is your option now. That's pretty much what you're using.
What I use now is I breed on craft paper, and when they get close to ovulation, the male kind of loses interest. Then I'll throw some Aspen, and I actually have one that I just replaced.
It's kind of a combination of the both.
Yeah,
like
and
some Aspen and some paper underneath it, and just let it be that way until she makes a mess.
When they're
of it
actually
with babies.
actively breeding, there's no Aspen in the cage at all. I don't want it getting stuck.
Yeah, you don't have that around males actively breeding at all.
Once they get close towards the end, when they're getting close, the female starts to swell with her pre-ovulation swell. That's when I'll start to take the paper
And the
out.
males, guys, will be on the other side of the cage, plastered up against the side, like, please give me the fuck away from this bitch. I cannot be with her another minute. I don't want to be around her. She doesn't want to be around me.
They literally hit it and quit it.
Yeah, they absolutely. Well, I don't think the males would necessarily quit it. I don't think it's the male's responsibility to quit it. I think it's the females saying, bitch, get off. Go the fuck over there and stay the fuck over there until next year. Don't eat any of the food. Don't fuck with me. Don't do it. And
I've
when
got
you guys
one
see
that I'm
it, you'll
looking at
see it.
right now that is actually roaming to get out of the cage because the female, she's done. They haven't bred in about a week. And I'm just leaving him in until she ovulates. And I'm looking at him right now, looking at the glass, looking at me.
Being like, bro, what the fuck? I want out. I want out. So look, we're gonna do a quick shout out here. Stan, his wife, is going through cancer chemo fight right now. We definitely like to shout out to Stan's wife. Stan, look, man, that's a tough battle. I don't know what that's like. I know what battles are like though medically, and none of them are ever any easier for any of us or our family to deal with. So the very best of wishes and luck from everybody in the chat, and from me and Tony here as well.
Absolutely.
Wishing her better and all that stuff. So Yeah, Tony, like I think you should get back to the video thing on boas. I think people need it. I think if you have a pretty well-rounded collection of snakes, and we don't really get to go through your MorphMarket all that much, but or your Instagram all that much, but I kind of want to start.
Bring the dog in.
What's that?
I still got to bring the dog in. I know
you got to bring the dog in. Yeah, definitely bring the dog in so we can see the dog. Because I'm gonna have to head us out here in a few minutes because I'm gonna have to catch a ride home tonight if my car is probably still not.
Let me go get him real quick.
Yeah, go get him. Go get him. So this dog that you guys are all so up on is what he was mentioning pre-show. He was like, yeah, everybody cares more about me and the fucking dog than they do about all the snakes and shit. So yeah, Rocco time. And so here we are. What is Rocco? Rocco is a black what? German Shepherd? No. Oh, yeah, beautiful dog. All right, there he is.
All right, come here, dude.
Rocco.
Come here, sit. All right, this is Rocco. Everybody always asks about him. He's the most popular member of my family by far.
Gotcha. So tell us about Rocco.
So Rocco he just turned 4. Big, it's like having a toddler on steroids, if you ever know what that's like.
Yeah, for sure.
He was born over in Holland. He's a Dutch Shepherd. He was imported
Dutch
over
Shepherd.
by my police department.
I was gonna say it wasn't German, and it wasn't quite sure exactly what imported race of shepherd he was, but
yeah, he's a Dutch Shepherd, which actually is amazing to have, by the way, because he's very short-haired. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
you know, the German Shepherds have that really thick coat, and you brush them.
Right.
He doesn't shed at all. He sheds twice a year, and it's very little. So it's actually really nice to have a dog like this because he doesn't shed. You're not finding hairs on your clothes when you're getting ready or anything like that. It's amazing to have. He loves butt scratches, as you can tell.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Rocco, obviously, he's a police canine. He does narcotics and patrol. Patrol is all of the bite work, all the aggression stuff, tracking. Rocco's the kind of dog that'll find you and ruin your day if you run from us. And he's very good at his job too, by the way. So
he's
4
a
years
duty,
old.
So he's a duty officer with you then.
Yes, he is. Okay. He's my partner. Lives with me full time. Everybody always asks, if he gets to live with me. He does. He sleeps in the bed with me every day. Goes to work with me every day. If I'm in the car, he's in the car with me. He just turned 4 years old. He's 93 pounds. He's a lot of dog, and he hits really hard because he's just so big.
Oh yeah.
Majority.
I'm used to fucking around with Malinois and stuff.
Okay.
Because I love the breed. I mean, I don't have them, but I couldn't have one. Actually, I don't think I have enough exercise in me for a Malinois.
They require a lot. They require.
They're just way too wiry, bro. And German Shepherd's the size, the hair. So yeah, that's definitely a breed that was bred.
Well, and it's funny because the German Shepherds, they have that big coat of hair, so they tend to look bigger. Rocco has the short hair, but he's actually bigger than the majority of the German Shepherds. A lot of the German Shepherds are 75, 80 pounds.
Yeah, I would say by weight. That's a fairly big dog. Yeah.
This is a very big dog.
When you see a Malinois hit, a properly trained Malinois hit an assailant, it looks like a gunshot by itself, much less a dog that weighs almost twice as much running mass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty serious. Yeah.
Yeah, so Rocco, he's big, he's tall, he stands very high. He's very big, thick build. His shoulders are wide. So he's one of the bigger police dogs around.
How long has he been on duty as far as after post-training?
I got him when he was 13 months old, and he just turned 4 last week. So about 3 years.
Okay. All right. Very, very, very cool.
Yeah,
Jillian says hook up the Malinois to your wheelchair. I actually met an old man in a wheelchair at the Conroe, Texas Herp show that had a German Shepherd and a Malinois that were both service dogs. And you know what he said? He said, dude, my Malinois loves to bring me up the hill after we get the mail and stuff. And I was like, yeah, and how's that work out? It worked out pretty well. He's like, yeah, until the dog ruined my shoulders. And I was like, yeah, see that? If it wasn't you being a lazy fuck not working your wheelchair wheels, you would have at least worn both shoulders out equally. You had one hand on one dog pulling your fat ass up a hill. Doesn't work that way, bro. Doesn't work that way. So no, I don't necessarily need any sort of wheelchair mode of locomotion from an animal. I can live off the exploitation of animals enough with exotics by nature. I don't need to also be moved around by the fuckers as well. So that's just a little bit too far. But so yeah, so that's very cool that you have the live-in partner that you know,
well,
that
you
is
know,
the
I'll argue with anybody. I have the coolest job in the world. I get to take my dog to work with me every day, and we get to bite people. Every once in a while, he bites them too, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's true. That's true. It's never a good idea to get around a cop dog like that, though. That's true.
No,
you definitely
you
don't
really
want to be around a cop dog like that.
And, you know, if you've ever had the opportunity to wear a bite suit just in training with the dogs.
No, but I've seen videos of my buddy who worked canine here in New Orleans of their dogs going after people. Because remember, in New Orleans, bro, every house is off the ground. So you know where the criminals run? Under the house. So who do they send under the house? Not the fat donut eating cop. They look different. They look different than you down here, bro. Like down a lot of the cops look like
and what's funny,
most of the cops down here don't look anything like that.
You know, as canine handlers, we all take turns wearing the bite suit so that we can practice on each other. And even in the bite suit,
you feel the pressure.
It hurts. I would never want to get bitten by one of these things ever.
No, bare tooth. There's no way. I took my Doberman to my arm, to the inside of my arm. Whenever one of my other dogs bit him in the foot, he grabbed my arm when the other dog bit his foot. And dude, after feeling a full-size Doberman tooth go fully into my arm, just it would just go right into you like butter, I was like, dude, I still have a hell of a scar. I still have a good like half-inch scar from that. And that was just one tooth. That was one. You know,
Jillian just asked if I bite people too, and that's kind of the joke I always.
That was the joke. That was the joke. That was the joke.
We run around and we bite people, and occasionally he bites them too. So
yeah, that's it. That sounds like
not on duty.
Sounds like the joke
not on
you get.
duty.
Right, not on duty.
Throw that out.
So did the police work and the snake work ever get intertwined? You never made enough money to do that. You never turned into Brock Wagner and got investigated by your department for making millions of dollars breeding snakes? Sorry, bro.
I never heard that.
It did happen to Brock, bro. It happened to Brock. He had to be fully vetted. Yeah, fully vetted after the banana year.
I knew he was an officer, but I never heard that story.
No, dude. After the first year of banana ball pythons, he took in millions of dollars, and they did a full investigation into him. Which I mean, both glad on both sides of it, right? Like glad that they would do that, and then also glad to see a guy like throw it in the face of the boss and be like, I'm just here for the benefits, bro. Just here for the pension, player. I don't know about you, but I'm just here for the pension. I'm not really here for anything other than that. That's the only reason I started.
Never had anything like that happen where my snakes have never really affected my police department. But what has about once a year, we get a call in the middle of the summer where someone always calls 911. There's a snake in my yard.
Right, and they call you
every year. Like,
and everybody calls you.
They live there. No shit.
That's right.
So of course, me being who I am, I always, whoever it is, I'm the supervisor now, so I don't have to take calls. My job is to supervise everybody else taking calls. I always call them off, like I'll handle this one, you know. So I go, and it's usually a fox snake. Those are very.
You're going to handle it just in case you come up on a fucking 2-headed albino fox snake, and you're like, I'm picking this up on duty and telling them I found nothing.
I haven't got that lucky yet.
That's right. I didn't find a suitcase full of money left by a drug runner. I found a incredibly rare reptile. It's perfectly within my purview to take off the job. It's not bribery or
every once in a while we'll get like an iguana in the tree kind of call, which again is rare, but
it's never fun. Not in Chicagoland. It's not fun.
No,
it's not fun. It's not fun here either. I'm sure it's not fun anywhere but South Florida. South Florida sounds like that's the Wild West.
Everywhere out there.
Not me. Well, no, I mean we've got reptiles around, you know, but I mean not feral reptiles.
They make it sound like iguanas are falling out of the trees in Florida.
Well, in Florida, yeah, not in Louisiana. So where I live would be the climactic equivalent to Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Pensacola, like across that
a lot better
stretch. So like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, like when I say nighttime low, the lowest nighttime low of the coldest year would be like 20.
Oh wow.
Okay. Like that'd be the coldest of the cold of the cold.
That's
for us. Right. But like literally this past week, it's been at nighttime, it's been not above 42 degrees at any night. Like, dude, last night I was out at like maybe 11 and it was like 48. and I was freezing to death. But wait,
Perfect.
the humidity in the air was so fucking high because it just when we get cold, we don't get snow, bro. We get rain. We get the regular version of snow. You know, we get fucking rain. So then we get a wet, saturated ground that then gets really, really cold. And then, dude, it just gets bitter, miserably cold outside, and it eats you to the bone. It's not like when I come by you and it's freezing, the moisture's frozen out of the air.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, there is none. But here, it's like being in like like somebody sprayed you down with water and put you in a freezer to work at like a refrigerated food company, right? It's like, here you go, let's spray you down with sweat and like stuff and water and just put you in this freezer and let you freeze. It's pretty miserable. And honestly, I've been in cold climates, bro. I've been in Colorado mountains. I've been up there by you all through the winter and reptile
You need to come
shows.
here in January.
I don't ever make it there in January. Thankfully, March is plenty close enough to January that I don't get to come and see 20-foot fucking mountains of snow in parking lots that you guys pile it into. Like, that's why they make big giant park. You're like, why do they have such big parking lots in Chicago? Like, there's so many things. Everything's so far apart, but you got to have some place for the snow to go, bro. And that's where it goes. It goes in the parking lot of like the old bowling alley.
That those big mountains of snow that you see in the back of the parking lot, they're compacted so tight. It'll take until April or May for it to completely melt all the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've been there many a Tinley that I saw. Yeah, I've been there many a Tinley that I saw a dwindling pile of ice and shit. Yeah, it's dirty, nasty brown snow. Yeah, I've been plenty of times. But I do enjoy coming up there for some differences in food. I do enjoy coming up there and being around one of the other oldest cities in America because, dude, New Orleans gets you really spoiled to that. When you go to a place like Dallas and you're like, where's the good old food? What do you mean old food? You're going to eat.
You're talking about food. I want to get something clear and put this all over the internet by all means. People from Chicago do not eat deep dish pizza.
No, they don't. They don't. Generally speaking, you have Chicago style thin pizza that's usually square cut.
That's tourist shit.
Yeah,
we don't eat that. There's a big
Giordano's is tourist shit. Giordano's is tourist shit.
We don't eat that shit. I just want to make that clear.
I can tell you this right now because we are in Louisiana where I am, and we are surrounded by pizza, and we only have one place that even remotely resembles Giordano's. And I go there all the fucking time with my kid because it is unlike every other pizza that we have around here, and it is still fucking good. But yeah, dude, it's pretty miserable down here in the winter sometimes when it gets to be rainy and mucky and nasty. But I don't know what that's like being up there in that cold. So I hope you guys don't have a miserably bad winter. You know, even though I
got a feeling we're in for a bad winter though.
Yeah, I think we're gonna all have a bad
especially winter. Seeing what happened up in Buffalo this week. If anybody here is from New York, God bless you because it looks terrible up there.
Yeah, it's I was not shipping any snakes this week, but
I saw the pictures of what the Buffalo football stadium looked like, and I almost would have liked to have seen that game gone down, just because we would be talking
with the snow in it
years from now. Yeah, they were saying snow or something.
Yeah, it was an insane amount of snow. I'm not a football watcher, but I did see something about it, and I saw the aftermath of it, and it did look pretty nasty. I'm sure plenty of FedEx guys are saying, nope, not today. So definitely do your research this time of year before you ship your stuff. And my boy's here to take me 20 miles to my home. So I'm going to kind of dial out with you if we can tonight. It's been a great night having fun with you, Tony. I really hope you can get back to those YouTube videos about your boas and stuff. Thank you very much for bringing the dog in to talk to us about it and stuff. And everybody go jump on Tony's Instagram page and go give him some likes and some love on Instagram. I'm sure he'll appreciate your follows and he'll follow you right back. And there you can see his partner, the officer, on duty.
There he is.
Looking great in his uniform.
His name is Rocco, but he also responds to the name Dickhead.
Dickhead Rocco, the very cool species of, short-haired German Shepherd. Because we talk about short-haired German Shepherds, but you do know that Mark Mandic from Ball Python, from Marcus Jane, right? That name of ball python's been around as long as Ozzy. He got into like long-haired German Shepherds, like the legitimate long-haired, like the traditional haired. Yeah, they're like crazy long hair. Like he blew me away by what kind of money he told me it was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they imported them.
Even the purebred German Shepherds, you know, you're talking 5,000-10,000 a pup.
Oh yeah. No, the long hair German Shepherds, you're talking 13-15 grand minimum to start. Minimum. And that is fucking phenomenal. So yeah, go check out Cop Tony and his cop dog on Chi-Town Constrictors, and some really beautiful snakes that you're doing some really great photography on too. I think the colors coming out on this, I think you got to really shoot on white. You got to shoot with flashes, really bright, and go into Lightroom from Adobe.
My camera right here.
And set it up.
All of these pictures that you see, they're taken on a Galaxy. What is
let's
it?
Change that.
So that just gives you an idea of the animals. If they come out that
look
nice,
at that ovulation. Boy, look at that ovulation.
That's
Boy,
nice
you thought
thing,
your ball python's full up. Boy, that's a big fucking ovulation. Boy. Oh. Yeah, that's a monster motherfucker right there. I don't even know if I've seen an ovulation outweigh this one right here. This is a pretty monster.
I've had that's actually one of my bigger females. She's probably
what size tub is this? Is this the 5-footers?
6.
6-footers?
That's a 6-foot freedom breeder.
Use all 6-footers? No, you got some 4s back there.
Yeah,
huh?
I've got 2 6-footers and a 4. Actually, you can see.
I see the 4 over your shoulder and 6 next to it.
That is a 4.
I can tell from the spacing of the windows.
And that's a 6.
Yeah. And they're the old classic gems with the cheese grater tops too.
That's right.
The original gangsters.
I had to buy 3/4-inch insulation to insulate so that it wouldn't.
Yeah, I see you got bubble wrap or something on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I used? Thin PVC sheets like they build racks out of, but the thin shit that's like a thick 16th thin.
Yeah.
You can get it and you can get it and they can just roll it. You don't even need a truck to pick it up. And you can cut it with a pair of scissors because it's such thin PVC.
That was why I did it,
but
with
it's
the
completely impermeable. Yeah,
it was just easy to do the insulation. Slide.
Yeah, because that's that bubble wrap stuff, right? Like that aluminite they make like car visors out of.
Yeah,
that's like aluminized bubble wrap. Yeah, that's what you use. That's a good use of it too. That's good news. I did the same thing for my blood pythons to keep them damp. So you guys go check out
ventilation. A bad thing.
What's that?
Too much ventilation's a bad thing. So
and those racks are horrible. Those racks are just expanded metal tops. There's nothing to it. They need something. So check out Instagram.com/Chi-Town, one word, _constrictors for the Instagram that I will link in the description. I've already got linked in the description his MorphMarket page that I've already skipped off of that only had 6 snakes for sale on it anyway. I go find him.
I told you it was a slow year.
Yeah, it's been a slow year, and sales have also been probably pretty decent too, you know. So go to MorphMarket, Chi-Town Constrictors, morphmarket.com/stores/ all one word Chi-Town Constrictors. Go check out the 6 constrictor snakes he has for sale. And dude, even of the 6, they still are very nice looking. I always liked the Motleys that were square backed. It was square backed. I don't know. He just always did something for me with the square blotches.
See, that's got the jungle. I've got a couple of Motleys. You know, one of the things that we saw with the Motleys over the years, remember the days of Chris Nicholas and the original Motleys, like 2009, 2010? To this day, in 2022, there are Motleys that don't stand on anything that he produced back then. Right. The Motleys just got so watered down, and the patterns are broken. The tails.
Yeah, I think people just kind of went with what they could buy for the best price they could get, and nobody bought quality. We did. We bought quality. We bought one of the nicest ones we could buy. But
I've got a couple of Motleys like that if I can, I've got one female right over here that if I can get her to produce next year, the boa world has not seen Motleys that nice in probably 6 or 7 years.
You know what's funny too is all my best looking ones were always het for call albino too. They always looked the best. The call albino hets were always the round pattern with like the really outlined tail.
This one's pretty nasty.
Yeah. All right, I'll have to find a picture of one that I had, one of the last ones that I got left. Got rid of. Sweet, bro. Well, thanks a lot. Hang tight for me just a brief second so I can tell you another send-off for the audio people. But anything else you want to add here before we kind of dial it out? Sorry, we can't just keep going. I just want to say
thank you. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. I've been invited to a couple of podcasts and stuff, and I've never done any of them. But
really, you never done anything?
Yeah,
well, thank you for doing
no reason why, honestly, other than I've forgotten. People have reached out to me and invited me, and I forget. Like I said, being busy, you forget sometimes. So when you reached out to me, I'm excited to do this, and I'd like to do a lot more of it. So,
Well, I think the cop in you helps you to have good cadence with your voice and a good carrying of your personality and a very even keeled person. I think this is a wonderful man. I think this is a great person to model your boa breeding successes after. I have certainly watched him do well for many fucking years. I mean, many years we've been around each other, many years.
Yeah.
So thank you again for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
You know, and that's it, man. I mean, look, I can't tell you that this podcast, coming back to it, is all about talking to you and a few of the other people I never got to talk to, and also talk to the few that I did get to talk to again, where I'm not angry and I'm not acting like a fucking dick and I'm not trying to, yeah. And I'm going to always throw some degree of shade because, I'm a big tree. I've been around for a while. I've grown tall in this business as short as I am, and I've taken up a lot of space in it too. So you know what? I'm going to throw a shadow and you might get in it one day. And honestly, the best thing that I could say is that it's all in good fun, right? It's all in good fun. It's all in years of being together. And even though you and I could say good and bad about somebody like Jeremy, for instance, he's still a giant part of why we're all here.
Yes,
and while the boa constrictor market is still on the rise and it's not completely dead, I mean, Pete Call himself hasn't led the march in probably close to a decade, coming up on now, or getting close to it here soon.
Yeah.
And once that tips, man, like, where does it go? So I think you can be the old school of boas because Jeff Ronnie is really tired and old at this point. And
have you seen Jeff lately?
I have not seen Jeff lately. I'm sure Jeff probably looks young and refreshed or something because I feel like crap. But
I heard a couple of stories. Jeff had to have surgery on his shoulder this past year.
Okay.
And he showed up to Tinley, what's it been, a month and a half ago. And people came up to me and they said, I kind of developed a reputation for always wearing the sleeveless shirts. And people were coming up to me, they're like, Tony, have you seen Jeff? I was like, no, I haven't been able to make my way around the show yet, but where is he at?
Physical
like,
therapy, huh?
They're like, Jeff is buff. I'm like, what? Honest to God, when I saw Jeff, he's jacked.
Yeah, right. Looking like a little Tom Crutchfield. Yeah, right.
Jeff is jacked right now. He looks the best that I've ever seen him look.
Well, and it's good that he's still around because I was learning so much from him when I was a child, and I had no boas in the hunt. Right, I have nothing, no skin in the game, and no money on the line. So it's good to see he's still around. It's good to see that you are still around and still setting a trend
for a long time, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say don't quit your day job because of your MorphMarket page.
I would like to,
but honestly. Yeah, dude. I mean, quit it when you have a pension. Take it from me, being a snake breeder. I mean, it was fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a ton of fun. Pension would be a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Fishing.
Yeah, that is one of the very
fishing with a paycheck would be a fucking lot more fun. I think most people agree. My buddy Earl in here agrees. He actually just traded some fishing lures for some Brazilian rainbow boas that we put on a breeder loan here in my group of Brazilians. So, yeah, I mean, so much for the fisherman, right? He's fisherman and him too. Well, all right, brother. Good night, Tony. Stick back on the side for just a minute.
Me, bud.
Thank you so much, and let's have you back again to talk about some projects and some boas and stuff. All right, brother. Just hang tight. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to round this out because my buddy Earl here is waiting to bring my ass all the way home. And actually, you know what? You want to go try my car again? See if you really even need to be here? Because if it runs me home, I'll be home. I'll go home. But I don't think, if it starts, leave it running, please, by all means, do that. But yeah, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in tonight for an off-topic Tuesday. It was kind of a quick throw together sort of thing. I don't know what next Tuesday will hold, but I did a sort of a thing to sort of maybe pressure him into getting ready or maybe being more healthy. I don't know if it's really going to work out or not, but I did make up an off-topic Tuesday banner for Anthony Capinetto of AC Reptiles. For anybody that knows who that guy is, he has a couple of crested geckos, and he's been breeding crested geckos for a couple years. That's kind of a fucking understatement of New Caledonian proportions, but really. Yeah, I'll definitely ask him to wiggle the fuse box. Will, thanks a lot for that last tip. He already went outside in the cold, so I'll wait for him to come back in and tell me it doesn't work for him to wiggle the fuse box. and we shall see. You might have to hit me up on my phone, Will, and tell me just how much of a wiggle it is. You know, if it's a wiggle wiggle like the Jiggle Jiggle It Folds song that's all on Instagram and shit, if it's a wiggle wiggle like that, or if it's like a rock the whole fucking car wiggle wiggle. So hit me up and tell me what kind of wiggle I need to give it. But thanks again, guys, for doing this, for coming in, for seeing Tony. The BOA podcast will continue. I got to dig deep, though. Like, I can't have Vin Russo on because he's one of my favorite people. And we'll talk about reef tanks and bonsai trees almost the entire time. And he will call them bonsai trees also because they're not called bonsai trees because that's a completely different word with an A, not an O. So it's bonsai trees. Maybe I'll get Vin Russo on an Off-Topic Tuesday just to talk about bonsai trees, just so all the BOA people will tune in, just so we can tell them all to buy his book, just like Tony Antonucci just did. And then we can just talk about trees and reef tanks the whole time. That sounds like a blast for Sean and Vinny Russo, who, by the way, if you're into bonsai, Vin Russo is a member of the Manhattan Bonsai Society, which is probably one of the more uppity. Nope, doesn't work. All right, maybe 8 hours is what the doctor ordered. Car doesn't work. All right, well, I'm going to catch a ride, so see ya. We'll try it. My buddy said to try to jiggle the fuse box because he's a mechanic in the chat. He said on the Ford Flex, wiggle the fuse box under the hood to see if it works, but we'll do that tomorrow. It's fine. We'll do that tomorrow with the light. All right, guys, good night. I'll see you. We'll have more boas, I promise. I absolutely promise. And get some woman boa breeders. If women boa breeders want to comment, look at Tony just like, bah, 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 bah. I'll put you on the stage for that, son, so you can see you say that. So your wife can be like, what was all this shit, huh? What was all this shit, bitch? What was all this shit? Does this shit clean your underwear? Does this shit cook your food? What the fuck? You know?
You're gonna have to get her on a podcast. That'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah? That depends on what she works on. Does she do anything incredibly impressive than other than put up with you? Then that's it. Yeah. All right. You're out. I'll see you just in a second. All right, everybody. Let me throw this banner up here and then I'm going to get this guy gone so that I can get gone. Y'all have a good night. See ya. Oh, wait. Got to pull Gilly's comment off first. Can't do that again. Can't keep